I want to bring something up here. I'm going to ask a question to the group, and who is the best Swedish player in the world right now?
Can you say device because he speaks Swedish? Yes.
No, you can't. No. So who's the best Swedish player in the world right now?
Add some fun to your space with Xtrfy, designed in Sweden with focus on quality products built on experience. You're looking at Project 4. Their 4th generation of products with super cool colorways to stand out, with matching sets to satisfy with a solid B4 bungee, lightweight ergonomic M4 mouse, the K4 keyboard is fantastic, all of which are performance focused, and finish it off with colorful GP4 mouse mats that are bold in design and smooth on the surface. The retro theme in particular has got the feels. Complete your setup with Xtrfy. No regrets, guaranteed.
Fist bumps go to the teammates.
I wanna see you fall fast. Win the round. Win the game.
Parry Match, your esports teammate. Hey buddy, let me show you how to fix that. Bitskins.com. Buy and sell skins instantly. Deposit and withdraw funds instantly with crypto or directly to your Visa card. Bitskins.com. The best skin marketplace.
The nice thing about Displate is they're super high quality and very easy to hang up. All you have to do is mount the magnet they provide you, then just stick the poster on the wall. Every art piece they offer is super collectible and looks great no matter where you place it in your house or room. Another wonderful thing about Displate is they also look after the environment. Every poster someone buys, Displate will plant one tree. They have already planted over 14 million trees and they're still planting. So you're not just getting an awesome poster, you're also helping the environment.
Oh shit, we all here as the show goes live. Everything is going to be fine, and the smiles on the faces, they will ring true. Very bright smiles here today, guys. Welcome back and another episode of HLTV Confirmed. Let me do the intro properly, I suppose. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to another episode of HLTV Confirmed, Season 5, episode number 62. We're live, coming hot and direct into your ears at home, roughly 6 p.m. on Friday, the 12th of November, and I promise you this one won't be any longer than 2 hours. So we'll get this one done and dusted in 120 minutes. That's 2 hours, right? I know how to do simple maths. Anyway, quick shout out to our sponsors. We'll start with Xtrfy. They're Xtrfy. Check them out if you are in the market for some peripherals, headphones, mice, all that good stuff. Even a mouse pad. I went out today, bought one of these from the local store, got a new mouse pad ready to go because Malta, it's a moldy place. There's lots of humidity, and I came back and there was mold all over my pad. So that's not much fun. Prof just fucked off because he's got some time while I do the intro here, so don't worry about that. We got Parry Match, parrymatch.com. Gamble responsibly. We got one more in the mix right here. This one coming in, another one of the long time. Well, they're the most recent sponsor, Bitskins. Oh,
this one.
Oh,
it's
another
pretty
pack.
nice as well.
Okay, yeah, I saw that one in the store. I didn't grab that one. I haven't never been MVP before, so I left that one there.
Unlucky.
Yeah,
it's a very nice one. Didn't use it yet.
Okay, well, there you go. He's got one as well. Now, I did Parry Match. Now we're going to Bitskins. Buy and trade and sell CSGO skins and items. Check them out if you're in the marketplace. If you want a new Dragon Law, I need a new AWP because my AWP looks shit with my gloves. We have a new sponsor joining the show as of today, Displate. Now, you can see right here behind our man Striker, right? We get another opportunity to do a bit of product placement. Now, you got some of them, Striker. Now, what do you make of this?
I mean, even like when we heard that they were going to come on as a sponsor, and stuff like that, I was like, fuck it, yes, can we get some for free? Because like I've seen them around, because like I have nothing, or before this I moved here about a year ago and I had nothing on the walls, like, and I don't want to drill into the wall because it's not my place and stuff like that. It's not, I don't want to damage anything. So this was perfect, man. I know I sound like a massive sellout, but it's just like the product, man.
No, well, I had a look as well. There's a lot of cool stuff. There's CS stuff if you want to keep it Counter-Strike themed. And I will spell this one. This is DISPLATE.com. And you can check them out if you want to, you know, spruce up. Yeah, I use the word spruce. I'm sure a lot of you haven't even heard the word spruce. But if you want to spruce up a room, check them out. They're the newest sponsor of the show. So, yeah, it's great. We're picking up steam around here. Now, that's the sponsors done and dusted.
The best part of it, like Striker here, he can like put up some like CS geeky shit. And then when he has a lady coming over, he just like swaps it for like, oh, I'm a man of culture, London, New York, and shit like that. In like 5 seconds, just take it off and on.
I have like three over there. There's like a seat. Wait, let me 1 sec.
Oh, he's on the move.
Oh, he's gonna do it. Now he's gonna show off his shit. This is a massive sellout episode. We're just like showing shit.
Well, the thing is like, oh, okay. I see. Well, we might need to get him a few more books for that bookshelf as well. Check him out with a couple of bits and bobs up there. All right. That's the sponsors done. Now, tonight's show, well, we've already all chimed in a bit. Striker, Prof, they're here. Lucas, say hi.
Hello, guys.
There you go. Back in the dulcet tones of Lucas, the producer. Now, not being able to see him and watch the things actually melt down is going to be a little bit different. Now, boys, I think we just start getting this one pretty much underway. There's a lot of recent news that's happened. We've got the post-major blues. So we're going to kick things off exactly there, talking about the major, which just ended. It came to a close. NAVI, they lifted the trophy. A Simple gets the MVP. Everything's right in the world, it feels like, right? Right, Prof? Everything's right in the world?
It feels like it. Feels pretty calm, honestly. Weirdly so, even
with all the roster rumors and news, right? So there's so much for us to go through here. Now, when Simple is on the show on Monday, in case you missed the memo, Simple is on the show on Monday. We're going to have a great time talking to him then, and we're going to rehash a lot of this stuff now, but from Simple's perspective, which is what we care about, and I'm sure what a lot of you at home care about too. But we'll probably talk about some of the same things now, and really the interesting sticking points we'll make sure that we talk to him next week about. So how are you feeling being home now, Striker? Is it a bit like you feel like, you know, you're done for the year? I know there's still a lot more work to be done, but, you know, it's that end of the event feeling.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it wasn't even that. I don't know what it is, if it's because I hadn't traveled for such a long time or whatever, but I came back and I didn't feel like, of course, on the day after, because I didn't sleep through the night that's like before I was traveling. So I like, that was a rough day, but the day after that, I didn't even feel like I had been gone for like 2 weeks, you know? So I don't know what it is. Maybe it was just the fact that I kind of enjoyed it. Maybe it was the fact that I hadn't traveled for a long time. It was just like, I didn't have that like post-LAN feeling, you know? Sure. That's like where you just dead for a week and you just can't really do anything, you know? That's the feeling that I had before when we did like 3-week majors in the past couple of years. And I didn't have that this time. So yeah, that's pretty good. That's the worst part about travel, you know, coming back and just being dead for several days. So the fact that I didn't have that is good.
And not being sick, that probably helps as well, right? I think we're all expecting there to be some like crazy esports COVID hybrid, like that we just send out to the world as like this new nuke of destruction by accident. Because if people who haven't been to esports events before, whether it's a convention, whether it's one of these big ones, is you go home and so many people are sick, right? Because you're shaking hands, you're kissing babies, you're doing all that stuff. And realistically, of course, people are going to get sick. But this time around, in a place that was basically open, right? I don't know what your guys. I was one of the only like individuals walking around with a mask in some of these situations, going, "Oh, that's right, I don't have to wear this." Like it was one of these things where it just felt weird being in Sweden because everything was normal, right? I don't know, Prof. What do you reckon? It felt pretty normal.
It was super normal. Like, to be honest, it feels weird that I didn't hear about anyone actually getting COVID. So I don't.
Even though at the moment we don't know what.
Yeah, but like all of the players are getting tested regularly, and they were sick, but not with COVID, just like flus and shit like that. That are super normal to happen at events, and some food poisoning for our friend Striker here midway through the event as well. So all of the classic LAN stuff. I think, yeah, as an event, it was super chill. Actually, just that's one of the things that I don't know how some TOs maybe not want to be that lax in terms of rules and, you know, contact with fans and other people and stuff like that. So I'm not sure how that's going to work in the future. And also depends really on the country where we have events in the future. For now, it's Sweden, Denmark. That seems to be kind of the focus. V4 is going to happen. I think that should be. Is that going to have a crowd as well?
No
audience.
They had to change it. They had to change it. Like I saw like an update a couple of days ago that they had to change it because of regulations.
Yeah, but it was planned to be like that. So, but yeah, I guess that's kind of the kind of an interesting thing to monitor moving forward. But yeah, at the actual event, it felt like a normal event pre-COVID. Like everyone was hanging out with not just like teams with teams, but like fans shaking hands with fans. We saw it like on cameras, like in the first row signing stuff. So yeah, I'm just super glad that we didn't have any health concerns actually at the event. So that's number one priority, I feel like.
It wouldn't have been a little bit less lax if we had fans like in the earlier stages as well. Because obviously, like when you get to the playoffs, everybody kind of like stops caring because it's like 3 more days or whatever. Like nothing's going to happen at that point. Like it's too late for something, almost too late for something to happen at that point. So everybody would just kind of like stopped caring by then. But obviously, like behind the scenes, like when we were running around the studio and stuff like that, everybody had masks on. Obviously, players like sometimes didn't because they were just came off of playing and stuff like that. But that's just something that happened like right around games. But most of the time, most people just like wore masks inside the event. It was just weird, like going around the hotel where like all the normal people who were there didn't have any masks on, and like you knew that whoever had masks on had something to do with the event, even though you didn't know who that person was. You just knew it was something to do with the PGL Major. Like everybody else didn't have masks.
Yeah, I want to make sure everybody at home, we're just talking about the experience, by the way. We're not saying any of this is good or bad. As always, we're not experts on this type of a topic, and nor should you listen to us when we come to health advice.
SPUNJ confirmed mask denier, anti-vax podcast.
I double masked on the plane back from Bucharest. I was so scared, like, because the Romanian numbers were like going through the roof, right? Like I was like, oh no, like I don't want to get locked down again. But like it all ended up being fine, right? Obviously, we all now know jumping through these hoops and shit, like of having to show this thing and this, that, the other, and this. Everybody knows now. It's a bit more difficult. But yeah, we're going into winter. We need to kind of keep our finger on the pulse of what's going to happen. So the COVID conversation is important because the sentiment that I'm trying to get out of everybody here is that, yeah, it was relatively normal, right? The experiences that we were having were relatively normal. Now, the fact that we got that, we're very lucky to get that, because if the world goes back the way it did, right, and it could, right, it very well could, we need to remember what we just had. So I wanted to make this clear to everybody that, yeah, this is what it will look like if we can maintain this level of event, but it might not be that way always. So yeah, I wanted to get that done and dusted. The event itself in the arena, I think, I don't know where you guys had the opportunity of viewing from. Actually, I know where you were, Prof. Some days you were in the booth. Striker, you were all over the place. Everybody had different views. Lucas is kicking people out of his booth, just going mental at people. I've never seen Lucas get so mad at someone before. But look, can they hear you laughing, Lucas? If it's only me hearing you laughing,
could hear me laugh.
Good. Lucas is a lovely guy. He's not kicking. Well, maybe he was, but regardless,
definitely not from our most favored organization on the show that are being kicked out of the booth. Of course, nothing to do with that. Just happened to be misunderstanding, some mishaps over there in the organization. But it was pretty funny, I have to say.
Let's do this. I was going to get into like, what were the overall takeaway? Let's go Counter-Strike first, and then when we get to the end, we can talk about that stuff. I think that's probably a better place to suit this. So yeah, simple and Navi, as we mentioned, take the major, and I think we posed the question, or I did last time round, of how are we shaping this up? How are we looking at it? Do we think that this is going to be Navi's major to win, Navi's major to lose? We had that whole conversation. At no point there was I ever scared for Navi, right? At no point throughout any of the games, other than maybe the Vitality game or Nuke, where it was like 13-10 or something, they were down. Right. Even when they were down in the final, when they were down 14-7, I was like, they're not going to lose. Like, I just had that feeling. I was like, they're not going to lose. So we all know.
Did you think they were not going to lose when you saw NiKo going behind the ladder and stuff like that? You must have known that they would lose.
Analyst Chad just wanted to be like, well, pistols in the back of the head, hardest shot in the game. But Chad, in an arena grand final with all the emotions on their line, was like, oh my God, that's the entire game. I can't believe this just happened. Right? Like this, I was like split in 2 different ways. I still like, when I'm saying I didn't think they were going to lose, it's from that, like, it didn't feel possible, right? It's not from the like X's and O's of I genuinely, like, yeah, it was definitely possible they could lose, but it never felt like that was going to manifest with them. There was an aura about Navi going into this. And I'm glad that it played out the way it did, because the type of Counter-Strike they're playing, like, that's one thing that we need to talk about, right? Like, simple, short, MVP, right? But the simple conversation, we're going to have a lot of that in a couple days' time. The rest of the team look fucking fantastic as well. Like, everybody now has been able to groove, like, not groove, like the little notches, right? They're there now. You can see where they belong, and it makes so much sense. And the type of Counter-Strike they're playing as well, it's great. Like there's always a decision. Whenever you think Navi are down, Blade takes a timeout and goes, just do this and we'll fucking win. He probably says more words than that, but that seems to be what happens, right? Now, the question, right, do you boys want to talk more about their performance at this event, or do we want to like talk about like what this all means for Navi? Or we could do a bit of both. I guess it doesn't really matter.
I guess like yeah,
ahead,
I don't know. The performance we already know more or less. We talked about it through the whole event. It's been like Bit being amazing, fucking insane. Electronic also being really, really good. Like all of the players stepping up to do what they need. Perfecto's clutching. Even though in the grand final it felt like he didn't clutch, like all of his clutches were failed, which is kind of funny, but they still won. And Simple being fucking amazing. Even when he had like some poor starts or like average starts, in the end he just delivered. And even that fucking NiKo shot, I don't know if you saw it from like Simple's perspective, it was not an easy shot to hit at all. No. Like he literally 180'd and scoped and killed him instantly, because NiKo like 2-3 shots and was falling back. He was like halfway behind the wall already, because even if he just stays alive there, that's super annoying for Navi. Maybe they still win the round, and 99% of operators do not hit that shot. So yeah, fucking crazy.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of performance, I agree with you that it had, like, every time you watch some of these teams, you just, I guess the closest to that would be Astralis a couple of years ago, where you were watching them play and you were like, there's no way they will lose. Like, you just don't believe that that's a possibility in any world, you know? And even when they were down, or like old NIP, you know, when they were on that massive streak, like that's kind of like the aura that Navi had at this tournament as well. And like you say, even like 14, I even tweeted something like that. Like when I saw them win the pistol, I'm like, I'm not going to start believing until it's like 13-5, you know, and until like they're really close to winning. Because I saw what happened to Vitality on Nuke, same thing, you know, they were down pretty big as well, and had to come back and did that. So like, I just didn't want to believe until it happened, you know. So, and obviously it didn't happen. So, or it did happen that they won. So that's kind of like how I felt about Navi during that entire event. I mean, to be fair, like, if Nuke goes the other way, I feel like G2 had a reasonable chance to win the major. Like that's how crazy it got, though, because Mirage, they had won every Mirage that they played up until that point. They won like four times or something like that, mostly convincingly as well. So like at that point, you don't know what would happen. Like if they had won Nuke, it would have been a different story. That's like a position that Navi hadn't been before, where they lost the map in a series and stuff like that. Pressure gets to some of these younger players, like that 100%. Like it could have been a G2's major if they won Nuke, but they didn't.
I think I think it was Yanko on the desk. I'm 90% positive it was Yanko on the desk, and they were talking about like the likelihood of Navi winning, right? And Yanko mentioned something along the lines of they could play 10 times and Navi could win 9. But G2 only have to win once. And this is the one time, right? Where they could do it. Like that's building into the sentiment you're talking about there, right? Like Nuke, wow, the Ancient, I wasn't expecting them to be so brave, right? And go with that. I was like, are you really going to risk that? But the thing is, at the same time, you look at Navi, you go, what are they going to go with? Like, what are they actually going to do, right? So that right there, I think from G2 was, I don't know if it was a gamble, right? But it was maybe a little bit riskier than going into something that they might have a bit more of a database of knowledge on. One of the things, though, with Navi that blew me away was this KAST stat, right? Like I would need Peta here to kind of be able to have the ability to go, yeah, in all the big events where this stats existed, this has never happened before. But to have 4 players in the top 5 as the highest KAST players in a tournament is insane. Like, at least that's the way I read this, right? My understanding of this stat, right? It's kill, assist, save, survival, traded, right?
Yeah.
So it's how active you are in the round other than just getting frags, right? So like it's all these other things that factor in. This is
just like any sort of contribution you had, like anything outside of just dying and doing nothing else, you know? So that like that's basically contribution,
Yeah. But this for me, it's like the teammate stat, right? That's what this reads. You're a good teammate, or you were able.
More like a consistent. I look at it more like as a consistency stat, where you're like consistently good at doing something, because like it's the percentage of rounds you did something, right? So that's like a consistency statistic, and obviously like Navi were mega consistent as a team, so that like it's not a surprise, but obviously you don't see this every day at all. Like there's like I agree with you there. I don't know if that was the first thing, because like Astralis in their era had, I'm sure, multiple occasions where they were something like that as well. So, and obviously like Navi hadn't lost the map and stuff like that. That's just like, considering that it's not that big of a surprise, but it's obviously a big thing.
Well, I think here, like, just seeing that kind of highlights as well what we're talking about with everybody functioning within their roles. Because to get like a stat like that, where I guess it also helps when you're the first team in Counter-Strike history to never lose a map at a major. Like that there, I don't know. Prof, that couldn't be, there's no such thing as overstating that, right?
Yeah, I mean, especially, that's the thing, like talking about historical runs and majors and like, is this team better than this prime Navi, better than that prime Astralis and stuff like that. I think one of the things that goes Navi's way, which makes it easier to a degree, is that like not all teams a lot of teams at this event weren't really convinced that they're going to continue with this lineup after the major. I'm not saying they were
seeing that now,
yeah, I'm not saying they're 100% sure that we're going to change, but even saw Vitality, they already signed players before even the major started. So, it wasn't that competitive as maybe some other ones were, but it's not the saying like it wasn't competitive at all. They were probably less competitive events, especially the top 8 in the end that we got was some pretty good teams. And yeah, they beat the best of them almost. Like Vitality, Gambit, G2 was the run. G2 also beat a lot of good teams on their way there. So I think if you look at G2 before the event and say, oh, they beat G2 in the final, you'd say like, oh, that was an easy run. G2 was shit this like after the summer break, but at this event they're probably the second best team, and so it's completely deserved, right?
No, this was the peak G2 that we saw like before the break as well, where they just like had everybody kind of delivering at different points in time, right? Like they didn't have those like massive disappearances from 2 players at the same time. None of that at all during the entire major. So yeah, that was definitely not an easy G2 to beat. And like the final made it pretty obvious. Like I said, like if that nuke goes the other way, I think Mirage could have easily gone whichever way it could have,
I think we transition into the G2 conversation now. Obviously, a lot of people are only going to remember the moment of NiKo missing with the deagle. Those people need to go and look at everything else that he did. The fact that in that specific matchup as well, he was the player having to take all the space yard. I understand his teammates throw utility for him, but having to take all the space yard and either get the trade against Electronic or maneuver around Electronic. And then once you maneuver around Electronic, you have to deal with Simple as the next rotator player, right? Like NiKo was huge on that T side. On the CT side, Jax had one of those performances where he was just such a nuisance. And that reminded me, and I was saying it to Alex after we finished casting, I was like, bro, do you remember when we did the event where these guys first came together? Right, when that team first merged, like the guys from Crazy came in and it was a mixture with the French, and they and they weren't on the same page as far as communication went. You go back and watch that game on Nuke when they played back then in Malmo for the first time, because they didn't have protocols and shit set. That's exactly what they were doing, pushing lobby, right? Like that's what they were doing back in 2019 when it first came together. So like to see that, I was like reminiscing a little bit on everything that had happened in that time period. And then as you zoom on in and you look at this team when they have a LAN event on the horizon, well, we've only had 3 LAN events in the last 3 years, and they've been in the grand final of every single one of those. Like, they do drop off. And this is a thing as well. This is an issue with the Counter-Strike community as a whole, because now HLTV is a little bit responsible for this, right? ESL have their own world rankings. We as the community, we want to be reminded of greatness often, which is almost every weekend from a lot of these teams. The reward system that these orgs have put into contracts for players in terms of bonuses based on this ranking or that ranking or where you're on in the world, this is why we expect every single event that every single team goes to win, right? We've had Matthew on before talking about the fact that, like, are you happy just being a top 10 team? That's a sentiment that I share, right? Like, if you're happy just being like the 8th best team in the world, that's not bad, especially if you're from a small region. Something else that we probably should do a better job of story building is we have IEM Winter coming up in a couple of weeks. That's tail end of the year. That event is going to have different levels of importance for different teams. Some teams are going to be just having fresh rosters, so it's going to be really, really important for them to get off to a good start and be feeling things. Some teams are cooling down for the year, knowing that Katowice is on the horizon. They've already qualified for them. They just need to come in here and put in a decent performance, right?
Playing with dead teams as well. So.
Well, yeah, like that's another issue. We'll definitely get into that one. But my point is here that different events mean different things to different teams. There's only 2 events a year, or at least historically. Maybe we could even upgrade it. Let's say some teams think the Cologne, I'm sure that's a sentiment that some people share, but there's only a very small handful of events where everybody goes in right? And you'd hope with the goal of getting the win. And even then, right, as Prof just mentioned, some teams at the major already knew that they were having roster changes not that far after the major. So this isn't all made equally. And we need to do our best of trying to assess that from a fan perspective. And I guess from ours as giving people the scoop. Like, we can't talk about all these events like they're must wins for everybody. Like that isn't the case. Some teams it's important, some teams it's not. You know, it's different levels of hierarchy on this shit. Anyway, I've gone off on a tangent. My point
So
was,
you're talking about
G2.
Talking about G2, yeah. But at the same time, the problem with G2 is not like, oh, they just made playoffs, you know, oh, they just narrowly missed out of making playoffs. It was literally just like bombing out of every group stage they could. So that's why we kind of lost faith. And yeah, there was also the IM fall event that they played kind of okay on LAN. Wasn't the grand final. You're just saying that they made the grand final.
Well, I don't include that because it's not an international.
That was a qualifier.
Yeah. It wasn't an international. Not everybody could play. It wasn't fair for everybody.
So that's why.
And also, like, everybody stopped caring once they got into playoffs, kind of.
Yeah,
so it's obviously different.
When they qualified, that was the biggest achievement, right?
And
yeah,
but like, okay, go ahead.
No, go.
I mean, when you were talking about NiKo, I think, like, obviously, like, he shouldn't be remembered by that one thing. He will be, like, that's inevitable. Like, it's obviously going to happen. And I will always remember that because, like, that's, like, what if that didn't happen, you know? So, like, obviously, he's gonna be fucking crushed by that for probably months. I wouldn't be surprised by that. It's probably gonna be like E-League Major flashback and stuff like that. I feel fucking bad for him because he, out of everybody on G2, it was obvious he'd been in that position before. He wanted to go after it. Like, there was no point where I saw NiKo be scared to do a move, you know? And you saw that from everybody else. Like, basically, like, Simple and NiKo were the only two players who I saw that from, like, where they weren't scared to make the moves that they needed to do. Everybody else had their moments where, you know, they probably should have, like, gone for a duel, but didn't because they were kind of, like, scared in that pressure situation. NiKo always went after it. You know, NiKo always went for the moves, like you were talking about on Yard, right? Like, he was constantly pushing through the smoke, looking for that duel against Electronic, and even, like, against Simple. Like, there was an op in Heaven, and he just, like, wanted to go for that duel and won it a couple of times. Like, really key duels that he shouldn't have won, he won because he was super confident. He just wanted to go and kind of, like, he wanted to win. Like, that was very clear. Everybody else had points where they just didn't want to lose, but he really wanted to win. So I feel super bad for NiKo particularly because he had an insane event. Like, he was, outside of Simple, like, he was the best player at the event by far.
Yeah,
and
I don't think there's even
up.
that too.
But yeah, that was my takeaway from NiKo's game as well, especially on Ancient as well. He didn't want to be, you know these matches where, you know, Superstar just doesn't do. He didn't play bad, but he didn't play good. You didn't see him. You know, the team just, like, went the other way. He didn't get into the action. Like, he was doing everything for that not to happen. He was just like, I'm going to go here. I'm going to take duels, even if it's, you know, peeking B, T side Ancient, just, like, walking in, trying to get that kill. Like, he was doing everything to not be in that position. Like, when you're in a 1v3 at the end of the round, which you cannot win. And this happens in some of these grand finals where a star player is just like, everyone else kind of crumbles. So the game plan crumbles because the guy that usually gets, like, 1 or 2 kills or, like, gets 1 kill, gets traded, doesn't do that. And then everything's shit. So he was just like, I'm gonna do whatever I can. I'm gonna put myself in these positions where I need to get, like, 2 or 3 kills on the CT side for us to win the round, even though it's maybe unlikely that I do it. If I don't do it, no one will, and we'll just lose by me being behind the smoke. So I appreciated that.
Yeah, I think that this is an event from NiKo that has reminded a lot of people that he is one of the best players in the world, right? Because when the conversation is about Simple, Zywoo, Device, right? Then, like, other players start to be, oh, well, this guy's really good, and this guy, you forget about NiKo very quickly, and that right there, that's not NiKo's fault, right? And you consider where G2 have been in recent times and the up and downs. Maybe you can understand why some people don't completely believe, because, like, I think people go, well, if he is just a hard carry, why aren't they just owning everybody other than NAVI? Because they're not owning everybody other than NAVI. Like, a lot of their games, I'm sitting there going, oh, you know, like, one little fumble or NiKo not getting this kill or Hunter not, you know, this is the thing with G2 where we probably will get into this conversation a little bit later, but it's not as bad as it was for Liquid during Astralis' run, right? Like, Liquid could have been the best team in the world if not for Astralis, right? Like,
Yeah.
I think we'd all agree with that sentiment. Now, you could say G2 maybe would have a trophy or two more if not for NAVI or not for this or not for that. But would they consistently be a force in the same way a NAVI could be, right? What it could now be prophesized for this team, or like an Astralis was? I don't think they have all the pieces to be, right? They can go far, they can go deep. They've shown that. But is this team, is it complete enough that it could be like a legacy building team? And the problem I have with that is, I think no. Like I think no. I think they need changes, right? But I can't even put my finger on where they need to make changes. If most likely the Frenchies go, right? If you're going to be, that's the way we're trending now. As soon as they went international, it's probably most likely the Frenchies go at some point. But are they even the right players to get rid of? Like, what should the team be? I don't know. I'm a little bit, and this sucks. They were just in the grand final and we're talking about this, but maybe that's the question again. Are they happy just being, second fiddle?
I think it makes sense. I know there's this like a creation Discord, and people before the event were saying like, what do you think G2 need to do to not make a roster change? I'm like, win the major, maybe.
Yeah.
Like, even if they win a major, I feel like I don't know. I'm not like, it's so obvious that these are not the best player, like the players that are going to be the number one team in the world. And you have NiKo already, who's a player that can get you there if you have the right players around him. So for me, even if they won the major, I feel like they'd still be making changes, because if they don't make them now, when do you make them? This is the time. The next couple of months, contracts running out with a lot of players, some orgs like dropping everyone, transfer listing. This is the time. So I don't think anything could save this team from a roster change.
You think that's the unfortunate reality as well, Striker?
Yeah, I don't doubt it. I even said it, I think, on the last show. Like, I doubt that they would stay the same for much longer, even if they won the major.
I think, right, like, if you could get, and this is a problem, like, I think Amanek is a very handy player, and I think that, like, he has just unfortunately fallen into this position because it made more sense for the team, not even more sense for him as an individual. But the AWPing, if you can get a competent AWPer, doesn't even have to be a world-class, right, AWPer. It just needs to be somebody who, when you need to send out an individual for an opening, it doesn't have to be NiKo with the AK. Like, like just something to add a bit more
NiKo with the op.
Yeah,
well. We saw that as well, which I feel like is okay in this team. I don't feel like this is a team where, I don't know, you have like a Kusta and then Simple is taking Kusta's op, and then like Kusta is going to be depressed or something.
Yeah.
I think Amanek is fine. It's like, take the op. I don't care. Give me the Mac 10, please. I'm happier with this shit anyway. So, yeah.
Yeah. The thing is, like, we could talk more about, this is the impending doom I have, right? Is the sense that we could sit here when we talk about G2, we go, yeah, like this, and they did this good and they did this bad. But it's like, I have that feeling, like you said, that in the back of my mind, it's like, well, this team is probably going to change. So when you've got that in the back of your mind, it's like, well, is there much point us sinking a lot of conversation into them now? Like, yeah,
That's
you
true.
did good. You did good. You made it to the final. You third final in a row. You almost won a map. It was a great run to get there. You look at the teams that you were able to get through and the way that you did. All those things are positive. But then I just have this negative thing where I'm just like, okay, next team. Like, I don't know. I just feel like, I know there's G2 fans who are like, these guys didn't talk about G2 enough. It's like,
I think it's good that all of these players gave like a decent account of themselves, so you can see how any of them could still work on the team. Like, you could, any of the three players, that's Nexa, Amanek, and Jax, you can see maybe if you change one or two other players, like, okay, this guy can stay and this team can work. So I think it's more about, it gives G2 more options in this transfer period than like, oh, we have to get this player, we have to get this player. Like, there's a lot of things that can be worked around. We can we can talk about it later in the transfer part and see, like, we can look at the transfer, like, free agent transfer list and see who we could maybe fit into the team to kind of make sense.
Nice. All right. We're going to talk about Gambit and Heroic now, two of the teams that were very, very important throughout the online era, right? Everybody at home should know that.
And now people are going to be like, you're calling them onliners again. Isn't this boring? It's worn out.
We're about to go the other way.
KDN did call me out, not call me out. He was like, come on, it's time to stop. We're just calling them every show. It's like, Heroic, are they onliners?
Well, yeah, it's a question.
But people love it. People want to hear it. And then we do it again. What can you do?
So this is the thing, right? And Cadian will understand this. Everybody gets their nose put out of joint when things are being said about them that they, obviously don't believe to be true. But as far as the narrative went, right, coming into this, we hadn't seen the same level of performances from those two teams as what we had online, because the highest of the heights. Now, is that because the other teams weren't as focused? Well, then if we start going down that route, unfortunately, the conversation doesn't look good for them either, right? But the conversation that does look good for them is the fact that at this event, both of them made it to the playoffs. That was where the bar was set. You make it to the playoffs, sick. You've fucking done your job. And both of them did it. Now, Heroic, they had to limp, right, to get there, but they definitely got there. And I think in that game against G2, man, there's, like you said, Striker, there was a world where that grand final could be blown open if they do get to that third map. There's a world as well where Heroic beat G2, right?
Yeah.
And right, that was an exciting game of Counter-Strike, I thought. That was a really exciting game of Counter-Strike.
Also a massive comeback, by the way.
Yeah.
On the deciding map.
But this is the thing, right, where Heroic and Gambit, now Gambit kind of rolled over, right? They rolled over,
Yeah.
they laid down on their back against NAVI and they said, yep, you can take this one, boys. But that's another thing where context is so important, man. Like with the Heroic guys, if we were actually going to talk about their experience as individuals compared to that of Gambit's, it's night and day still. Like Cadian, yeah, sure, he has a lot. Hobbit, yeah, he has a shitload. He's won a fucking major. You even take those two out of the conversation. The guys on the team of Heroic definitely have more than the guys on the team of Gambit. Like think about Refresh and his stints. He's done stuff that a lot of players don't do in their career, right? Of international teams standing in, doing this, that, and the other everywhere. You had Shush, obviously. You've had Stown from the very early days. I remember seeing him at LANs back in, I think I was talking about like 2018, 2019 Pro League in Leicester and stuff, even though it was more studio environment, but he was definitely there. So these names, they already have a much more experience than what Gambit did, right? So obviously a little bit different between the two, but which team here do you think performed better, Striker? Like if you had to compare the two, which one out of
Gambit
the two
Heroic?
of these? Yeah, which one do you feel a bit more, sold on?
I mean, definitely Heroic, just because of how I feel like obviously it didn't happen, or at least I don't remember if it happened, but if you had this Heroic face off against Navi, I don't think it would be the same result as what Gambit did in that semifinal. I think it would have been a much closer game. And generally, like you were saying, like Heroic could have legitimately been in that final, even though like obviously there's a very good argument to make for G2 to close out that Inferno at like 16-8 or whatever it was, like it should have ended much earlier. But in any case, like this was a Heroic team that, like when I saw them in the quarterfinal, I thought, okay, this from that bottom bracket, I think this team could make it to the final. Like there's a very real possibility that they can, and at least give Navi a decent run, even though like they would have been hard underdogs. With Gambit, at no point in the tournament did I feel like it was the same Gambit that we'd seen before.
Sure.
While with Heroic, I did see the same Heroic that we'd seen online a lot of the
Glimpses
time.
of hope.
Yeah, that's for sure. And just like in general, I think the fact that they didn't get blown out in any of the quarter or any of the playoff series was a big thing for Heroic, because I think that will give them a lot of confidence that, okay, they're not onliners. They've had everybody kind of stepping up at the right times and stuff like that. Refresh, who had a massive problems at Cologne, stepped up and finally found a level where he can be comfortable even in an environment like that. So I think a lot of positives to take away for Heroic. I don't think it's reasonable to make that argument for them anymore, that they're onliners and that they're not going to be the same. I think this was a Heroic that could have legitimately, or at least looked legitimately like the same team that we'd seen before. So I don't think there's that argument is there for them anymore. With Gambit, I mean, I guess the biggest point or biggest player that I was looking at and was hoping to see more from was Exile, because he definitely didn't have the same peaks as he had online. Everybody else, I think, was kind of like at the level that I would expect, and Nafani even more so. He exceeded expectations for me, at least. He had like an amazing run up until the Navi series, where just like everybody didn't really appear apart from Inters or in one map, and then like Hobbit on the other, right, or something like that. So like until that series, Nafani was in a sick form, but like Exile just had a couple of great maps, but then like he kind of disappeared, for the rest of it. He wasn't the same Exile that we'd seen online. So I think that's, whether you can make the argument that he's an onliner or whatever, like he had a good clone and stuff like that. So I don't think that's necessarily something you can say, but it was definitely something that they were missing, because he was a key player for them before.
I'm curious with this, Prof, like building off what Striker's talking about right now. Gambit are a heavily structured team, right? right? Like I think everybody would agree with that sentiment. Do you think that there's like a certain level of risk taking that needs to happen within all teams, especially more so when you get to land in those environments? Like because right now, if you play super structured and you lose the opening pick, then we know the way the rounds go.
I think if you look overall at the run, it was okay. I think that Navi game will just stay in everyone's memory as the reason like why they can be very beatable, and that is if the entry duo doesn't work. That's like Exile Nafani. If they can't find any space, find any kills, then they just end up in that position that I was talking about, like the NiKo situation. Shiro doesn't do anything because there's no space created, and then they're relying on fucking inters to go around and like get multi kills, which he shouldn't be doing on this team, and it looks absolutely ridiculous when he's the only guy doing anything. So I think that's the issue for them. Big stage, big match. Navi in great form, by the way, so it's not like you're gonna get any easy rounds. Navi got a good start, and then you're just fucked. For me, the game that kind of sold me on them being good is the NIP game, when they just fucking destroyed NIP practically to qualify for the playoffs. So that was a really good game against like a decent opponent at the time, at least we thought. And now I'm not sure what we think about NIP anymore. I think we are kind of maybe oversold on NIP overall. So it's neither here nor there, but I agree with Striker that Heroic like it sold us more on their land capability for sure. But sure. I believe the Gambit can get there.
Yep,
I really do believe that. I don't think it's I don't think it's a massive question. I think they should get there. They just need time. They're super young. First big event, major, all of like except for Hobbit. Even though Hobbit at some points I feel like was also a bit shaky, but I think it's fine. I think they got a lot of shit after losing to Navi. I don't think that was really deserved. I think, yeah, you can shit on them. They lost, but they were supposed to lose. They were the underdogs in the game. They're playing against the best team. Didn't lose a fucking map in the tournament. It's like, oh no, you lost. Of course you lost. You should lose that game. So we were just hoping. Everyone was hoping for a tighter matchup, though.
Yeah, I think for Gambit, it was pretty rough that they didn't get off to any good starts in any of the halves. Basically, like they just got steamrolled, And at that point, like if you just keep on losing confidence, it just snowballs, and you're just getting outrun by a fucking Navi team that's just like mega overconfident. It's just like one of those. I don't want to compare it to like a matchmaking game where you're like a terrible team just playing against like a fucking 5-stack who just like has everything learned, and they just get so overconfident that they just push you everywhere, go for knife kills. That's what happened in the Navi game, by the way, and shit like that. They were just so overconfident and just like going for every peak, every duel, that like you have to stop that with like brute aggression. And if you don't stop it, you're just never going to. Like Navi just like got so much confidence off those starts that there was just no way for Gambit to get back in. So I think like that Navi was just hard to stop. Like it's a tank. Like you can't do it. So that definitely didn't go in Gambit's favor. Had they gone, won a pistol, won a couple of gun rounds, whatever, it might have been a different series. But like this Navi against that in that series was just unbeatable.
Yeah, I think when you reference that, I'm just thinking back to some of the notes of like the stats and stuff I was reading over for the grand final. Like I think Navi had second round conversions after pistol wins at 100%. And then like their force by break, right, was like the best in the tournament, even if they lost pistols.
Yeah.
It was like, so we're talking about good starts with Navi. Yeah, holy shit. No wonder they had like, well, the stats back that up, right? I guess they did a lot of hard work together. Now, I think, yeah, we can drop the onLANer tag. All right. Everyone at home will be happy with that. Now, before we move on to the next talking point, I need to bring this back up. Need to make sure that I get this correct. Because at the after party that we had, I was talking with a gentleman from Heroic, and previously I've referenced him as Robbie. Now he said it's an L, it's not an I, and I said I'm sorry. So this is the mental and performance coach for Heroic. Now I said I'd set the record straight. He explained how to say his name in English layman terms for even a muppet like me. So his name is spelled Troels. That's his first name. And his last name is Robl. So it would just be Trolls Rubble. Yeah, Trolls Rubble. I'm close, right, Lucas?
Yes. Trolls Rubble.
All right. Record set straight. I told him I would do that on the next HLTV Confirmed. So that's done. Sorry, Robbie.
Still a Robbie.
Yeah. Anyway, that was a joke. Yeah, cool. All right, we can move forward. We can talk about NIP now. We have a man. Now, he does look the same, but I'm sure on this very evening I'm about to reference here, he was disguised. Striker, you made your way into the NIP office.
Oh,
how did you do it? Did you have to bribe him? What was the situation there?
I think I had a fake mustache or something.
Yeah, exactly. I had no. There was no. It was kind of funny because like I met Eric Wendell, who's I don't want to mess up his title. I don't know what his title exactly is. It's like a former ESL. He transitioned into an IP a couple of months ago, I think. I just met him and he just like was like, "Do you want to come to the party? Come to the party? There's going to be like some business people there, a lot of the IP management and stuff like that. Just like just meet up and stuff." I was like, "Yeah, cool. I want to see the offices." And then I went there. At no point did I feel like there was any animosity between me or us and the NIP. I just talked to everybody like we've been friends for a long time. So I think they understand that like a lot of it is also kind of like memeing at this point and stuff like that. I don't think there's any real animosity between us, even if there are some moments where we say something about them and they just like have to go on the defense and stuff like that. So I just had a good time there. At no point did I feel like I shouldn't be there.
Yeah. No, look, it's fun to have a company that we tell everybody we mutually hate each other, but that's not the case. Now, maybe they will after we talk about NIP now, right, Prof?
We should test the limits, I feel like. Striker survived the last Odyssey into NIP offices, but next time, maybe he gets poisoned. Who knows?
We can make it a little worse, huh? So NIP, right, for people who are uninitiated, they ended up losing 2-0 to G2, right? That was where they're on. That was it. That's the quarterfinal. We got out of them, and then it was all over. And we got the Hunter with the ear thing, right? That whole scenario, just to get everybody back on in. Now both maps were 16-11, but I read a lot of critique. I read a lot of critique, Prof, around their T sides. Do you have anything you want to chip on here with that in mind? If not, derail it. That's fine.
I don't remember the game at this point anymore. It's completely faded out of my memory. But the T sides, what is left is like T sides bad. that is in my mind. Overall, all players not playing good. That's also in my mind. No one except maybe Campus was actually doing well, or is even doing well for the most part in that team. I think we talked about it a bit on the Kindar show that we did live from Stockholm.
Was it the conversation of blurring into one? I don't know where we had the chats.
Yeah, or was it like somewhere on the side? But there is this conversation about the NIP. They got Device. Did he actually help them? But the Device did help NIP. Before Device, NIP was like a top 10 team, like edge top 10 team. Now they're a top 5 team. So you can't say that Device isn't doing anything for this team, even though he's not doing the Device shit from Astralis. And I think you can maybe put a bit of it to Device needs Glaive to hold his hand to be good, blah blah. Even though he was good before Glaive as well, but let's just imagine an alternative reality as people on Discord, not Discord, Twitter and Reddit and HLTV forums do all the time. So he is good. He's still pretty good. He could probably be better, but the rest of the team is like, who are these people? Like it's just nothing. There's nothing going on there. So I don't know. For me, it's a issue between, I think it kind of boils down to the coach and the in-game leader to get more out of the rest of the pieces, or just then say, okay, these pieces aren't really good enough, and let's make changes.
I feel that's like a similar sentiment we had with G2, but like NIP is still in like just getting everything set properly, right? Like at least with G2, you can see this is where people are meant to sit, just the wrong people in some of the chairs. With NIP, I don't know what it's meant to look like. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I think that's a good way that they can still find their identity. But their identity right now is Hampers go aggressive on CT or T sides, and everybody else kind of just sit on your hands and wait for Hampers to do something. I don't hate it because I like this whole meta at the moment where we have in-game leaders taking space. I think it makes it easy for them to call the flow of the round and call around them as long as their teammates understand the rest of that. But I feel like the teammates, like, I don't know if this was the last episode or maybe it was a private conversation we're having, but either way, I'm happy to share. But I remember I was having a conversation with someone where I was saying somebody like Plopsky, I remember Plopsky when he was like aggressive in Pop Dog, right? And like maybe that's a false memory. Maybe he was never aggressive Pop Dog, but I remember him as more like a heads up rifler, right? Now that I think about this, it's like if Rez isn't playing well and Device isn't playing well and Hampus isn't getting opening kills, that's it. There's no depth of the team. Like they don't have like LNZ. I know that he does a lot here from a rookie perspective, right? He probably micromanages bomb sites, right? He seems like one of the only guys showing emotion within the team when they need to get fired up and shit. We definitely talked about that last time. But their anchor players, which in my mind somehow end up being Plopsky and LNZ, feel like they're the last two that should be those type of players, because those guys, the guys who have to come in clutch, and testament to LNZ, he's actually had some decent clutch moments over the last couple months, right? He has. If you go and look at it, he's got a couple of decent clutches, but it's not consistent enough. So it's like I don't know what the solution is here. I think that right with LNZ being that academy upgrade player, he always feels to me like it's quite easy just to go, all right, mate, back down you go for now, and we can grab someone else. I feel like you could even do the same with Plopsky, right? He go down you go for a bit, like see if we can redefine you, have you come back up, but.
We had this conversation, and I know it was among us, but I also don't know if we did this on the last show or not. But I feel like we did. I feel like we talked about this on the last show.
Someone said talked about this while drunk on the episode of PGL.
Yeah, there we go.
If they guys, we need to get this clear. We need to get this clear. We made this very clear for everybody at home. I had 4 beers. I wasn't drunk. I was good spirited. We should put it that way. Drunk me. Nobody wants to see drunk me. Right?
I've never seen you drunk, by the way.
No, that's because this is it. I don't even drink a lot. What I do at a party is I go get a pint from the bar, and you just carry that motherfucker around all night, and people think you're drinking. And then there's no question of why aren't you drinking? You have a pint in your hand. A tip for all you out there: avoid the peer pressure. Don't be peer pressured into drinking. Okay. Well, NIP. I guess the sentiment here is still with a lot to be desired is kind of where I'm at. Anybody feel that? You're not an away striker. You got anything else you want to cement on this, or should we just keep moving?
No, particularly. I think I would have also. I definitely agree with what you were saying regarding like this maybe being like a 2 change period for them instead of just 1. And I'm assuming because like obviously there's been a lot of talk around LNZ and his future, so God knows what's going to happen there, right? So I would have liked to see more. So we'll see whether that happens or not. But in general, I feel like you're right in saying that they just don't have. I feel like there's just not enough firepower at this point, or maybe there should be, but there just isn't. They're just not delivering at that level that they should be. So it's kind of like it is left a lot to Hampus, and if he does do something, then the round kind of like transpires from there. Or maybe Device, if he actually hits the peak that he did at like IEM Fall, then he can do some stuff. But like if you look at Device, he's not set up the same way. He's just like he's a little bit more forced into trying to make space for himself and stuff like that. You can see that a lot in his game, I think, and that might be a part of why he's not as consistent as he used to be, and it's just kind of like a different role that he has on the team instead of or if you compare it to Astralis. So obviously, like you could say that like he doesn't have the same players around him who's kind of like trying to set him up in a different way, but I think it's just a fault with an IP system in general that kind of makes him that way. So I think once they solve that, and once there's not as much pressure on him to be always the guy who delivers, I think that's going to be a different story.
I want to bring something up here. I'm going to ask a question to the group, and who is the best Swedish player in the world right now?
Can you say Device because he speaks Swedish? Yes.
No, you can't. No. So who's the best Swedish player in the world right now? Why is this hard?
I mean, the thing is, I'm fighting with Hampus.
Even give me the
because
top
like
3.
I could literally say Hampus, and it's kind of like a ridiculous answer, but it's kind of like it's a reasonable answer,
The first name that came to my mind was Brolan, and then I was like, no, it can't be Brolan, and now I'm like, or can it? Like, who can it be?
Who can it be? Right? But I can tell you, there's probably a couple of candidates who it should be. In the conversation, it should be Brolan. Yes, it should be, right? Based on what we've seen. Another name it should be is Rez, right?
Yeah.
Now, here's the thing. I think Rez knows he didn't have the most stunning of performances throughout, but I think if you build that on top of what you were just talking about, Striker, in terms of the system, right, they obviously need to figure that shit out. And I think we all feel that there's a roster change coming, right? Rez is obviously not going to be one of those players going, yes.
Just to address the chat, just to get the sentiment of this. People are spamming Olaf and Forrest. That just shows how dire this fucking situation in Sweden is for star players.
Yeah, well, and no disrespect to the legends,
I mean,
but they can't literally be the best players forever. That doesn't work.
Yeah,
like
I mean, they're kind of memeing, but if you ask this in fucking for Russia or Ukraine, you're not gonna be getting fucking Dosia or Edward being spammed. You're not gonna get that. So
you know the funny part about it, I just like went quickly gone to check the Swedish players and their rating this year. You know who's first?
Forrest?
It is Forrest.
Of course, yeah.
Okay.
Obviously, like he's playing, like guys, like, just to put this into perspective, right? He's playing at a different level. He's not at the tier 1 level at this point. And obviously, like his stats would look different if this was a tier 1 level.
He's
like,
still shockingly good. Though.
Yeah, he's defying.
Far be from it. Yeah.
Yeah, he's defying like everything that we knew about older players and stuff
But
like that.
they could use a Forrest though, don't you think?
NIP?
Like, hear me out. Let me just float a roster. I'm pulling out this smart. Where I was going to go with this is I was going to go talking about Rez and how I think that he can be a beast. And I'd love to see him, take the game by the fucking balls and step up and show us he can be sick, because I think he can be sick. I've seen moments enough from Rez where I think he could be sick. Yeah. And I think I want like a confident big dick Rez in the server alongside of a device, alongside of a hamper.
Yeah, some coaching set, big dick energy coaching from Blades, I think.
But now, right, people in chat are talking about different names in here, and that's fun. We always love these games. But imagine, you take out, like, just hypothetically, stay with me right now. We got Device in there doing what Device does best. You got Hampus. I still like the in-game leading style, but maybe some other players need to go aggressive every now and again. Next one in the list, Rez, with that big dick energy, showing us why he's a sick cunt rifler, right? Just really shoving it down everybody's throat, right? You have those three. Okay, what are we lacking? We don't really have any good like anchor players, right? Now, Forrest, are you going to get many more experienced players than him in the entire world? Probably not. I know that he can love the aggression at times.
Yeah, he's not the guy who likes to sit in a spot. Though.
I know, but you say, Forrest, say, listen, mate, you want to come back and fuck some of these tier 1 teams again with us? You want to come back over into the NIP jersey? We'll hook you up better than before. You bring him in, you get him to play all those roles that require all that experience, which he has buckets and spades worth, right? He reinvents himself as the fucking GOAT of Swedish Counter-Strike late in his career. And now he's playing for NIP as that like old elder statesman doing all that shit. And then we just need one more player, but we're almost there.
This happened. I seem to recall that there was a time where, I don't know if this was around Get Right, where he's just like wasn't feeling very confident with himself and stuff like that. Wanted some changes, and I feel like the way NIP solved that for a couple of months was to put Forrest in anchors and like lurky roles. And I seem to recall that it didn't really work. And
all right, we'll cancel everything I said
very quickly. This is a very long time ago. This is like years ago at this point. I think it might be like 16, 17 or something like that. So like, I'm not sure of what period I'm even talking about at this point. I just remember that it did not last long.
Everyone is spamming. Well, not everyone. Occasionally people are spamming in chat. ESA-tag to NIP, Danish CSGO leaks, check it ASAP. How accurate has Danish CSGO leaks been?
Magic given complexity, right? Is that what's happened?
Okay. Well, we're not saying it won't happen. We're just saying maybe check the
5
sources.
minutes ago.
Huh?
No, this is 5 minutes ago. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So, okay. Well, it's pretty recent.
Could be possible.
Could be possible, right? I could imagine he would be a good glue man for the team. Could also do secondary AWPing, right?
He's also an anchor.
Want more of that. Yeah,
like at least a capable anchor. I'm not saying he's played that recently, but he is.
He's a very good glue man. I think him as well. His attitude. I don't know if people know him very well, but he has a very positive attitude. I always found with ESA-tag or YESA-tag. Anyway, let's leave it there. We'll talk more about NIP soon, I'm sure. Like, do you guys have anything else you want to say about NIP?
No, not really.
No. Okay. All right. Fine. There we go. Let's move forward. I've lost my train of thought here. Oh, standout teams. So other than the names we've already discussed, who stood out for you boys? Because Spirit's on the opposite end of that for me. And it's a bit sad.
You could say they stood out in a way.
In a negative way. Yeah. They stood out in a negative way. Well, that team now is actually disintegrating in front of our eyes. Obviously, Copenhagen Flames, do we need to suck their dicks anymore? Like, I feel like I did enough promo for them when I was drunk.
I mean, we spent literally half of a show talking about them. So, like, I think we're fine with that.
Yep. EG, dead, of course. Astralis, dead, of course.
By the way, just to touch on Astralis, because like we kept hyping up Astralis as like this team that could potentially make it to the final and like a top 4 team, and they start off the challenger stage like the fucking most terrible way you could imagine, and then the same thing happens in the next one, and oh my god.
Look, man, we took a risk. History has been kind to them. 4 majors, right? We were
I think we
rose-tinted
just
glasses.
all got fucking lost in that narrative so much. Like when I saw them play at first, I'm like, of course it doesn't make sense. Of course they should be shit, because like this is the first time they played together, and like they've not had any experience with this lineup and stuff like that. Of course they're not gonna have time. Of course Glaive just had a fucking month off and has probably barely played and shit like that. Of course they're not gonna be 100%. Of course they're probably changing at least one more player. And like this just hit me when I saw them play for the first time, where they just looked terrible. And I was like, how the fuck did we all get sold on this narrative that they're gonna be good?
I can get behind. Like even in hindsight, I see reason in what we said. Like, because even if it's a new lineup, it's actually an old lineup with one new player, right? And
so the system's meant to be there.
Even if these players are maybe not at their peaks, it's not. We don't need their peaks. We need just like an okay level, and we need other teams to not be at their peaks, which a lot of teams weren't. We need the experience to shine through. It's like this is all good, but then you look at Dupree's face, and you see that face, and you see that he doesn't give a fuck. I mean, he gives a fuck.
He was just dejected.
He was not giving the fuck that we wanted him to give, which is like, okay, let's go one last time. Let's see. Let's fucking own some fucking kids who hooping cake in flames. Let's just destroy these guys. It wasn't like that. It wasn't. So, and you can see it on them. And then we found out like they actually signed for Vitality before the major even started. So
makes sense.
Yeah. Makes sense, yeah. Also very interesting with the Vitality Astralis game. Not the greatest situation, right?
No.
From Vitality's point of view, from what we understood, the players from Vitality did not know. But Vitality as an org did sign. I mean, according to these rumors, which are almost more or less confirmed, that these guys literally signed before the major, which is like the Danish trio to sign for Vitality. And then they play against Vitality to go to the playoffs for their dead team. So yeah, that's the thing. I didn't think it was that dead of a team. I knew it was like dead, but if it's
we've been
not,
talking about this for months, man.
If you didn't sign, if you don't sign the actual contract, you still want to play that last event and like show yourself to be an amazing player, right? And there is no incentive to do that when you're already set.
Yeah.
Sure. All right, let's rehash this quickly. Then we're going to get into the who wants to be a skinionaire, so people at home can win something here. I'm just going to go over these quickly. And if any of this you boys like think you want to interject and have something to say about, then yeah, right, get stuck in. Furia probably still need a roster change here if we want to see them back in the form that they had when they were at their peak in North America. Drop wasn't bad, but at the same time, there's a couple of things clearly missing. Virtus Pro, I think we have to say that they were a standout just through the mental fortitude, but we spoke about a lot with that with Yakinda. We've already delved into that a lot. Copenhagen and Flames and Tropic falling into the same basket of teams who came through with that Cinderella or dark, well, they weren't even dark horses, right? The underdog run for those guys. And then we definitely covered off Mouse before. You just mentioned Astralis, Liquid are dead. I guess Ents under-delivered a little bit, but did they really, considering the inexperience of those members? And EG, we touched on them. So I think that's everybody in the top 16 right there that we've covered off. So
FaZe is a man name you kind of skimmed over, but I mean, I'm not sure if there's much to talk about there. I definitely expected more, especially considering
they should have been in the playoffs.
The way the way they started for sure, and then I'm trying to remember how that last game went. Wasn't that just on like another?
They lost Ancient to Virtus Pro.
Yeah,
like
and it was they were 13. They were 13 there as well, man.
Felt like they choked. Not gonna lie,
they choked it hard. Yeah. I remember. I was trying to remember because there's been so many games like this. It was like the 2G2 games where it was a massive comeback, near comeback, and then an actual one. There's like 4 different Virtus Pro games where there was a comeback, and I'm trying to remember where does this one fit, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm remembering now.
They should never
they legitimately they should have been in the playoffs. Yeah, and then there would have been a world where they could have been like that G2 team who goes through the bottom side of the bracket 100%. Like I think once they would. If they got to the playoffs, I think they would be in a conversation for a final spot for sure.
Yeah.
So like obviously just shit situation for them, but you know, you have to close out games, right?
And maybe they get ropz in sooner rather than later. But we'll find out more about that.
But by the way, I mean,
you don't think he's going?
No, it's just I mean, I think he's going, but I think I've seen some people ask about like should it be FaZe or should it be G2? I think that like now, even though there would be much more clash with G2 because of NiKo, obviously.
Overlaps, yeah.
it's not like they couldn't make it work. So like there's if there's a choice for ropz, I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know how to put it, but like there's an actual
know what you're
choice for
saying.
ropz if he is considering something, you know. So like obviously maybe G2 doesn't even want him, but like but why wouldn't you, right? You kind of want a ropz in your team even if you have a NiKo. So
I think ropz for CT sides for G2 makes sense, but for the T side,
yeah, that's a problem.
I think the T sides would be awful. I think Hunter, NiKo, and ropz all like to kind of be lurky boys.
From time to time.
Yeah, and I think all three of them together, even with Hunter and NiKo, it was also kind of an issue. But with ropz on top of that, like someone would need to change something. On the CT side, I think it would be amazing because on CT side, ropz plays. He can play not all of them, but he can play like Nexus roles essentially. On the
He could
side.
do, yeah. My biggest problem with ropz in that Vertigo game that they ended up losing.
Let's say he's a baiter.
There's a fine line between lurking and just baiting, and Mouse play a lot of things by the book, but I would have just wanted to see ropz with some balls go for a couple of plays. That's all.
Mouse's best player at the major was Frozen.
Yeah, Frozen's legit. Frozen is legit. Anyway, let's get into this quiz because all this roster shit, like I feel like we can't dig into it properly until we get past this. So we're gonna do Who Wants to Be a Skinionaire. Now this time around the quiz has been done by Striker, which means I assume Prof, you're going to be answering this for everybody.
Seems like it, yeah. That's the plan.
Okay, so this for everybody is presented by Bitskins. And basically, you have a chance right now by just being a viewer. All you need to do is type in chat Bitskins to win yourself a skin of, I want to say Prof's choosing, but it's not really Prof's choosing. What he wins you. You can 5 different tiers, 5 different levels of skins here, and we'll see what we get. Are we good, Lucas? All right, we're good. All right, let's get this one underway. Question number 1. Who wants to be a skinionaire? Which of these 3 teams placed the highest at the PGL Major? Was it A, Spirit, B, Ents, or C, Mouse?
This should be...
Placed the highest?
Yeah, this is Mouse. This is easy. Okay.
He's locked in Mouse Sports, everybody. The correct answer is... Mouse.
Okay.
He was a little bit worried about the start there, a little bit sketchy.
Yeah, I was like,
this is
it's too easy. What is going on?
All right, question number 2.
I think it's pretty easy.
Oh, you've done him well here. All right.
I'm gonna miss every question after. How many maps? Okay, you do it.
You can do it. You can read it. You're the contestant, though. It'll be a new game show. How many maps did NAVI play on the way to the title? Was it 10, 11, or 12?
So 4 in the group stage, and then 6 in the playoffs. So that's 10.
Damn, quick maths right here. The correct answer is... And the correct... 10. We're green. Green means go. Red means stop. Question number 3 is Prof is zooming through these.
What's the color in the middle?
Orange.
Yeah, that's correct. It's orange. Everyone calls it yellow.
Who was the highest rated player in the Legends stage? Is it A, NiKo, B, Bit, or C, Simple?
Legend stage. This only includes like the legend stage.
Yep.
Bit, right? He was the shit.
He was.
Bit was the shit.
I can tell you that one was correct. Now Lucas is frantically spamming in chat, guys. Just type Bitskins, no exclamation point. Don't be fooled. Just Bitskins, no exclamation.
Valera Bit MVP candidate. It would be super amazing because Bitskins was the MVP sponsor as well. So it'd be like Bitskins MVP of the major. Unlucky.
Unlucky. No, he did win the major. I guess that's some consolation.
Yeah. Major, Grand Slam in his first year. I don't know.
Easy.
Was it the Cologne as well? Something like that. Pro League?
Yeah. Not bad.
Some of these, like, not important achievements for a player. So, top 20 player? Who knows? I don't know. Maybe.
Possibly.
I don't know because I don't know. We'll see.
I reckon he can make it.
He started kind of late.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. A lot of. I mean, he didn't
win
get
every
to play.
LAN.
Yeah, he did. I mean, you can win every LAN and not make top 20. It doesn't make it. It's not about that. It's about how you play.
All right.
Bit flying.
Question number 4.
Why?
Leave Robin alone. Leave Robin alone. All right, question 4. What word did Machine use to describe NiKo? What word did Machine use to describe NiKo's miss? Calamity, disaster, tragedy.
I have to say, I was watching in the arena, so I didn't hear shit.
Oh,
I did not hear anything. So, Calamity sounds like a machine classic,
I thought this was easy, but okay.
but maybe not.
30
So I'll
seconds.
just, people are spamming shit. I'll just go with this. I want people to have like a shittier skin.
And that was incorrect. The correct answer
Absolute
is B,
rip.
disaster.
I don't know. I did not. I literally can't. You cannot hear anything in the arena. You
Yeah,
can
it was
hear
pretty
like
loud.
Yeah,
it was
that's
so
true.
loud.
But
Yeah.
there's been like so many fucking replays of that round that
I
I
did
feel
not.
like it
I
was
did
so
not
easy.
watch them. I did
But
not.
you're right in that like calamity. I just saw that word. I was like, that's a machine word, man.
That's
I'm
like,
just putting.
yeah,
I'm
it
just gonna put
baited
it
me
there.
so hard.
All right. Well, you can make amends here. You can get people up to the $15 skin.
Okay, I see.
Last question. Question number 5. What was the least played map of the major? Oh, was it A, Dust 2, B, Mirage, or C, Ancient? Now,
That's interesting.
does this include the challenger stage?
The whole
Because I
thing,
would
the whole
have said
thing, whole
Vertigo.
thing.
I would have said Vertigo. And I need to minimize the chat so I don't see that. I actually have no idea. Dust 2 is probably not played that much because it was new. Mirage was played. I don't think it's Mirage. Could be Ancient or Dust 2.
I can give you a hint.
Give me a hint. Does it have 2 in its name?
Yes.
Okay.
That's a hint. And it's
There
correct.
we go.
There we go.
That
The
is
people
it.
at home, Prof has gotten 4 out of 5 correct. The people at home are going to be walking away with a $15 skin. Not all of you, just one of you. I'm going to draw the winner right now with the Bitskins Who Wants to Be a Skin. How'd you find that, Prof?
It was okay. It was fun.
It was okay. All right. I
Yeah,
feel like
but-
there's some softballs coming in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was
Ooh.
fine.
Okay. SGX Guardian. SGX Guardian.
With
You
a
have
1.
the, or is it a 5? No, it's an S. It's an S. Congratulations, Mr. SGX Guardian, with a 1. You're the winner of the skin. We'll be reaching out to you. And when I say we, Lucas, or maybe Dimitri, someone will reach out to you and sort you out with your skin. So that is that segment done and dusted. Lucas, do we need to roll ads? Roll some ads.
The Xtrfy M42 RGB, what a fun mouse with 5 colorways, lightweight frame at just 59 grams with the swappable backplate to suit your grip style, the sensor, the easy core, the smooth skates, and driverless control for RGB and DPI is why you should check out the M42 RGB down below.
Fist bumps go to the teammates.
I wanna see you falling fast. Win the round. Win the game.
Parimatch, your esports teammate. Buy and sell your skins now. Easy, fast, and safe. The best skin site. Credit card deposits and withdrawals. Instant cash out methods. Get the best deals. Quick, simple, reliable. Bitskins.com.
The nice thing about displays are super high quality and very easy to hang up. All you have to do is mount the magnet they provide you, then just stick the poster on the wall. Every art piece they offer is super collectible and looks great no matter where you place it in your house or room. Another wonderful thing about Displate is they also look after the environment. Every poster someone buys, Displate will plant 1 tree. They have already planted over 14 million trees and they're still planting. So you're not just getting an awesome poster, you're also helping the environment.
Oh, we're back and we're going to get into the meat and potatoes of this right here, because if you haven't been paying attention, even during the major, roster changes were already getting underway. Now, the amount of rumors around roster changes is absolutely mental. And this is where it's going to become very prickly on where we're going to end up. So there's a couple of things that just happened. One of which, SDY just, was he benched? Was he dropped? I don't know what happened exactly, but he's no longer a part of the Spirit starting roster. So that's the fresh off the presses. In case you missed the segment before, Danish leaks. There's apparently a leak that STag is meant to be joining NIP. So those are the 2 that have just happened. Maybe we'll come back around to those, or they'll crop up in conversation here. But either way, let's start off with the big one, the big ticket items here. Now, I think we all knew that Config was going to be joining Astralis, right? The fact that he shifted away from Complexity earlier in the year, that was more than assumed. But the blameF one, I think, comes as a bit of a shock considering the pieces that they had of the puzzle remaining. And then Ave as the coach. Do you think Hunden's dream is dead, Striker?
I mean, bit of a late conversation. I think it was dead about 3 months ago.
You think there wasn't any hope?
I don't think there was any hope at all. Especially now with Astralis. Like, you could maybe make an argument for like a team. Not even a team like Copenhagen Flames or whatever. I think nobody wants to touch Hunden.
Hunden, his dreams are really dead. Well, everybody, let's take this moment to think about Hunden and keep on moving. So, next up on the presses, the other two individuals that joined. We should probably talk about the blame story here. Prof, do you think that it's going to make sense with the roster they have right now with Blame coming in? I was talking about him not needing to be an in-game leader, right? Do you think that's something that he's going to be able to leave on the wayside in this team?
So you're saying you saying that was not based on the rumor that he is joining Astralis. That was just like completely random.
I didn't know that he was going to be joining. I don't think it's a good roster move. Okay. If I'm going to be honest, I think it's a good roster move if they kept Bubsky and removed Zipex. I don't like, and I'd like Blame to play more of a passive role within the team.
Bobsky is still on the team, and he's signed up for Blast Fall Finals. We might see him play in front of his favorite Royal Arena crowd in Denmark, according to Astralis.
Who are you selling this one to?
I am now Astralis PR machine.
Are you? Is this real? Are you?
No.
Okay. The kids' dreams are broken.
What's the question again? blameF?
Blame.
I think they got the two best Finnish players available.
Okay.
So
but how does the constellation of the team look to you? Do you think this can be a success?
Okay. I think blameF can change up his style. And I think he can work on the team with these players. Of course, I think the Zipnex thing is kind of mixed since I wasn't that big on him for a while. Compared to some other players, and Dupree and Magis being the guys to go out and Zipnex being the one to stay in the end. It's like probably got the player that has the least to give in the long term, but that's why you have Config and blameF to kind of offset that and bring that's a longevity of Astralis. I feel like that is what you build in for the future. I think it's okay. I'm not expecting this to be anywhere near the Astralis, prime Astralis. I think they can they need to show us that they can be like a stable top 10 team. Like a 8-7 team and contend for titles maybe here and there, make finals. Then we can talk about anything else. But I think that's where I set the expectations. If people are saying the expectations, number one team in the world, then of course this is shit. You can literally just leave the room, not look at this team for 6 months because it's not going to be, I don't think it's going to be that. I don't think in the next 6 months they're going to be even close to being number one in the world.
One of the problems that we aren't discussing here is what form Config's going to be in because we have no way to know after the injury, right? That is something as well that comes into play. We don't know, right? He's playing deathmatch, he's doing all that stuff, and I hope we get the best Config back, but that's a whole conversation in itself. What do you make of the pieces here, Striker? Prof isn't sold on it being a short-term, hit the ground running. Do you also feel it's going to be a bit of a simmer before we hit the boil?
I mean, yes and no. I feel like, I don't know what kind of place Blame is going to fit in. I think that's the biggest question mark for me because it's obvious Config's role is just not going to be anything other than what we've already seen in the complexity. He's just the entry, kind of like a very aggressive player. He's going to go for the duels and stuff like that. Oh yeah, exactly. And then you obviously have Glaive, who also like to do a lot of that, kind of like the front line. With Config, you can expect that. Previously, they had kind of like Zipex and Magisk being kind of like that supportive element a lot of the time, with the Opera kind of like in the pack as well. So is blameF going to become that and kind of like take Magisk's place to a level? I think he can.
Maybe that doesn't sound as bad in my head when you frame it like that. If he takes Magisk's roles, then actually
I think that's okay.
Yeah, it is okay because blameF showed that he is a competent entry fragger if he needs to be aggressive. But we all just think about him as super passive, right?
Yeah.
But he showed us in one event. I know it doesn't count forever, but he showed us in one event he can do it. So actually, the way that you're framing that sells me on it a little bit more. Like, not necessarily short term, but okay. Sorry,
also
keep
think
going.
I also think he doesn't have to be as aggressive as Midges could be at times, just because of the elements that they have now. Because towards the end or even the past year, he hasn't really been the hard entry or anything like that. He hasn't. I don't think he ever was that. And I think config is always going to be. So I think like the balance of aggression is going to be all right, even without blameF being like a kind of like a magic, like a one-to-one magic replacement, where Midges was also a lot of in a certain situation he was kind of like the front line and just like taking a lot of entry duels, especially towards this last stretch where he just like kind of like was forced into those roles because of Glaive not being in the roster and stuff like that. So as much as I think blameF isn't as versatile as Midges, I don't think he needs to be. That I think is the biggest point of contention for me, and whether he's going to be able to fill in those roles, because I think it's not going to be quite as much. Yeah, kind of like a little bit of everything as Magisk was. I think he can be a little bit more passive than Magisk. So I can see it working. I wonder if that's going to be the solution for them, or if Zipex is going to change his roles and blameF is going to be the typical anchor lurker that we've seen him to be. So maybe it's possible that Zipex just said, okay, fuck it, just put me in kind of like a Magisk role or whatever like that. I don't think that's going to happen. I see it more as a Magisk replacement. So that's what I would expect.
Yep.
I have a question though.
Yeah.
What about the third signing?
Yeah, Ave.
Oh yeah. Okay.
So let's do this a little bit of history for everybody playing at home. If you're not familiar with Ave, he is a ex 1.6 professional from back in the day of MTW fame, where he used to be the in-game leader actually of the team. So alongside of Zonic, right? If that helps everybody for a bit of context. Now, if you move into the realm,
Linkby Vikings coach Trace, you might know now.
Yes. Well, you should know Trace.
Yeah.
If you love Counter-Strike, go back and watch.
Yeah. If you're 1.6 person, you know that whole team. If you're not, and maybe you're following like tier 2 CS right now, these guys are kind of making some moves. So also relevant.
So having Ave come back into the mix now, when I say come back, he's already done some coaching in CSGO that didn't go fantastic.
Went pretty badly.
Didn't go that well.
But North was almost like a dumpster fire from the beginning, right? Like it never really. They won one event where MSR I think got the MVP, right? Well, they probably won more than one event, but you know what I mean. Like
they won 3 DreamHack Opens and a DreamHack Masters.
There you go. So they enjoy the DreamHack circuit, which after this Open is done is unfortunately no longer existing, right? So yeah, RIP. So what? Yeah, you asking the question, what do we make of it? I don't know what we make of it. I think that
there's a lot to prove there, I think, because like obviously, like you're replacing Zonic and former teammates and whatever. That's like so long in the past that it doesn't really matter. Not outside of just like nostalgia or whatever. So especially considering the North stint, which is basically the only thing that Abe has in his resume, I think there's a lot that he has to prove if he wants to replace a guy like Zonic, who's just kind of been like considered the best coach of all time and whatever in CSGO. So like obviously, like he had great pieces to work with, but this is not a bad team that Dave has to work with. So like if this team doesn't deliver, and maybe it's because of the roles not fitting perfectly well and stuff like that, that's something that you can point to the coach and think, he could have probably done a better job at figuring out how these players would fit together. So like that's obviously something that
you're putting it on him already, mate.
I mean, obviously it's kind of like the combination of the in-game leader and the coach, right?
I mean, it's a thing.
Like
go ahead. It's also a thing like it's like Yanko and Moses going to coach, MIBR and FaZe and Liquid. And if you're coaching Astralis, you can't. The stakes are higher. Like everyone's going to put you under the microscope. If the team isn't performing and you have like world-class players, which they surely do, they have world-class players in this team. Maybe the combination isn't great, but that is essentially when the in-game leader and the coach and maybe someone from the management who's doing the signings kind of come together to make it work, right? And you can say that North was a shit show, and it was, but they also had good players. Like decent players that could have that were capable of doing more, and that they didn't deliver. We don't know. Like I can say that this is Ave's fault for this, but they had KD and in-game lead at one point. They had MSL. They had like a lot of different players coming in and out. He surely had a say in this. So it's definitely not a plus on his resume. So if I was him and I was giving up my CV to Astralis, I'd just like I'd leave that part out. Like there's nothing to see here. This like 2018, 17. I was working as a waiter at that time. I think, yeah, it was pretty cool.
Here's the qualm I have with it for Ave is, do you get the same keys to the car that Zonic had? Because if you don't, and you're not in the driver's seat, and Glaive is, you're fucked from the beginning, right?
True,
and no matter what happens, then right, if we say we get the information, say we don't get the information, it's going to look bad on Ave no matter what. So with it, this is basically in my mind a complete rebuild. This entire team, it should be treated as a complete rebuild. Like, I don't know if it's pick up where we left off and hope that we can. You need to go back to day dot and maybe even not reinvent the wheel. The wheel's great, right? The wheel, which is what Astralis created, which is what everybody is now playing on. It's great. We all love the wheel. The wheel's fantastic. But right now, Navi, their wheel has got like gold rims, and they've got, right?
Spikes,
Spinners.
Yeah, exactly.
Spikes, man.
Their wheels are fucking gnarly. Well, what are you going to come back with, Astralis? Because you can't come back with the wheel again. Like, people aren't buying the wheel anymore. We need something else. So their system, the blueprint, the way that they got there is fantastic. But now it's about what has changed in the game and what needs to be approached in the meta differently, right? Because that is the next conversation. Are they going to deep dive on the way that grenades are used? Do they think that they can use that to give them a leg up? Are they going to change the map pool? Do we see them playing Mirage now? Because blameF and Config, pretty handy Mirage players. Do things like that change? And I think that is going to be a big conversation for Glaive, Ave, and the organization as a whole. And then you're going to have another quite vocal voice here. This is why I asked the question about Blame. Do you think he's going to be able to take a back seat? Because does Glaive need somebody else piping up, right? Could that... I'm speculating here. I have no fucking clue. We would need to hear it from Glaive or Magisk or Zonic or the horse's mouths here. Did it become an issue that Magisk did a little bit of in-game leading? And then now you're having both those voices in the server together, right? Were these things that existed? This is things that we don't know. So is Blame going to be able to take a back seat there and let Glaive do his shit? Is that necessary? Does Glaive need somebody to chip in and give him more ideas? Now you have Blame, you have Ave, you have Glaive. You have three people chip and new ideas. So if you don't settle on something early, discontent can brew within the ranks. We're not happy with this. Why don't we just do it the way we used to do it in Astralis? Well, this is the way we did it here. All those things can be issues, and that we'll need to kind of find out as we go. But another one wasn't there a rumor about Farley being sought after? Did we speak about this one already? I remember we saw it somewhere on the line.
Yeah, it was draft.
I don't remember
5.
where we saw this.
It was a Brazilian or Portuguese outlet that did it. So sorry for not maybe getting correct. We didn't do it. We didn't share it on HLTV. Didn't confirm the reports or anything.
Could have just been a question. Could have, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what it how serious it is. I also don't know what I think about the move, because it's not like he was amazing in FPX. But so like it's just like Acor going to the national team in Denmark, he was pretty good, and then he makes this international move, and then it's not that good anymore. So maybe if he goes back to the Danish team, he can deliver. But it's not like a super sexy thing for me, definitely.
What I'm not worried about necessarily, but what I anticipate if this would to happen. Like I honestly don't know whether this was real or whether this is something that could actually happen, or whether there were just talks and it fell through or whatever. But if it does come through, like, are we just going to see the Bobsky situation where like one of the operas was just going to take a back seat, and maybe they're just going to try to figure out which one's better, which one's going to be the better fit? Because it's not like Lucky has done an amazing job to prove himself. That's something that Astralis could just be looking at.
Yeah,
exactly. Like he definitely his spot on the team could be in question just because he hasn't proven himself at the tier 1 level against the best teams in the world and stuff like that. So like that could legitimately, especially with Astralis' approach to their lineup in the last year and a half or so, that could legitimately be what the management is thinking. Like, okay, let's just get another opera and see, like, let's do the 6-man thing again, swap him in every now and again and see which one fits better, and then we'll decide what the 5-man lineup will be at the end. So I can definitely see that happening.
I was going to say, if it does work out like that way, and this Farley situation manifests and it's another Bubsky situation like you were talking about, at least we have something to talk about, right? So thank you to Astralis for giving us plenty to chat about here, right?
By the way, something that I'm curious about is you were talking about, whether Ava's going to get the keys to the car and stuff like that. And even with Zonic, there were clear disagreements between him and Casper, the sports director of
The
sports,
handball
I think.
guy?
Yeah, exactly.
The handball
him.
guy, we'll call him.
Director of sports, I think is his title, Casper Hibbett. And then it felt like, or at least it was reported that that was one of the big reasons why Zonic decided to leave, and that's why he didn't want to be in that team anymore. And clearly that had to do with the 6-man thing and kind of like switching out players all back and forth and stuff like that. So you have to wonder whether Ave is even going to be like a massively impactful coach in terms of like deciding who's on the roster and stuff like that. We all know that Astralis wanted people to know that Zonic was the guy who made the final call and stuff like that. But I mean, was he? If you look at these disagreements and like Astralis just getting rid of players that Zonic would have liked to keep, like S-Tag, which is what he said publicly. So clearly there were some decisions that Zonic had nothing to do with. And I don't see Ave having as much of a say in this team as Zonic had, and Zonic already had problems with some of these decisions. So I can see how Ave could just be kind of like a mouthpiece for some of these decisions and could get even shafted this way. This is just a speculation. It's just
it'll be in Zonic's second book. Don't worry about it, mate. It'll look like Zonic's second book, and we can all read about it there as well on TV.
Felt like Zonic had a bigger say before the whole like stock market IPO era of Astralis. But at least that's how it felt like. That is kind of the point where things just go downwards in terms of between the org and some of these decisions that are good, maybe good for the business, but not good for the sporting results. Yeah.
Okay, let's move swiftly onwards into the Astralis trio to Vitality. Now, basically, if you missed the memo there, just after Vitality got eliminated, it almost felt like immediately after, it came out that apparently Magisk, Dupree, and Zonic were on their way there to replace the likes of Shox, Kyojin, and Xtaz, I believe, right? So that's almost a full overhaul of the team at that point, and for not the reason you think, 2 players and a coach, maybe it's more the language situation. Now, Zaiwu, I spoke a couple of words to him. I said to him, Zaiwu, I was in the lift and we're on the way down, and I said, Danish teammates, huh? And he said, I don't know. And then he walked out the lift, and that was it. So he understood me. I don't know. No, Machine did a content piece with him and said that
maybe he said, I don't know because I don't know what you're saying. Maybe.
That might be possible too, but this is the thing. Let's spell the roster out. Zaiwu, sick. Apex has impressed me a lot as an in-game leader. Ever since he changed, I wasn't on it immediately, right? I wasn't on it immediately, but he's really proven this year, I think, that he can be a good in-game leader. He sometimes has those deaths where he wide swings. I get it. But he's fucking micromanaging a team and thinking about a lot of shit, being an in-game leader. Like, I get it. But he had a lot of influential plays. I think he was the second best player for them at this major. And then
they wouldn't have made playoffs if it wasn't for him. So
no. And then you had Masuta, who I think he underwhelmed because we saw the direction he was going. And then Kyojin, we weren't expecting a lot. And Shox, well, we know Shox can sometimes be that volatile second star of the team, or he can just be middle of the pack, right? But having this come in, well, let's go with you, Prof. Do you think I like flip flopping this around, Prof? Do you reckon that this team? I think I gave you this anyway. Fuck, it doesn't matter. Do you think that this team with these players can make sense? Dupree and Magisk for Kyojin and Shox.
First impression, absolutely terrible.
Okay.
And then I thought about it a bit, talked about it a bit, and then I can see how it can work, even though I can also see how it can't work, like how it doesn't work. And that is the language barrier for an in-game leader. I feel like that is a big issue.
Dan's English is really good.
It's good. Like, it's good to talk. You can talk to him, but in-game leading and thinking and conveying ideas very quickly, I'm not sure how that's going to translate. So that's a point for me. The general language barrier, of course, no multinational team, as in multi-language team, actually won a major yet. I think we know the whole bet. We know all of these things. So we don't have to even go into this.
I so didn't want anybody to say that in front of chat. But Peter told me, Peter said this to me, and I didn't I've never thought about this, but just Peter said this back to me. I'm never say it in front of chat.
this is a thing. Like people can say, "Oh no, but international teams are pretty good." Like they're pretty good. They're pretty good. They're not the best. Like none of them are the best. In CSGO, none of them have been the best. And until one is the best, I'll say they're not. So that for me is just another very like it's a minus for the team. So it's like in-game leader changing language. That's like a separate level, because even if you have like maybe a good English speaker that has called in English before, you still have the international aspect. So these are the two things. And then you have just like people are really different from that perspective as well. These like Danes and Frenchies, like these are kind of different people. Like
dupreeh and Apex are equally as emotional.
Do they mold equally? I think Apex out molds dupreeh, so that might maybe the ego issue is there. Like dupreeh, I'm not the number one molder on this team, so you never know what's gonna happen. So yeah, but I actually like the 3+3. That can be problematic, but it's also maybe it's good in this situation that they have this. You have a coach from one side, you have an in-game leader from the other side, you have good players, like very good players, the two Danes, but you have ZywOo on the other side. So that should be balanced. Should be balanced out.
Okay.
What's your question, Lucas?
Yeah, what we want to hear it, Lucas.
So I know you guys said we shouldn't talk about it, but the whole bet thing. What do you guys say to people having international rosters but they speak the same language? Like Gade, who joined Big and he speaks German.
That doesn't count.
that doesn't count.
That doesn't count. And
just
Device,
like Navi doesn't count. Navi also doesn't. They're Russian.
Well, like
they're
Virtus
Ukrainian.
Pro have also like 3 different nationalities, right? So,
but maybe they don't speak, totally perfect German.
No,
What
but
do you mean? That's not the point.
that's not the point. Yeah, I mean, even I agree that's not the point. I'm not super happy about agreeing to the rule that like it has to be at least 3 different languages. I think we said, or something like that. It can't be like 2 camps, where they can talk like in 2 different languges amongst one another. So I'm not.
But we
happy
didn't
about
even get
agreeing to that.
The thing is, like, we didn't even get that. Let's say if this Vitality Astralis combo works out, we could say, okay,
Whoa.
sure. Yeah, but we didn't even get
Like,
that,
I'd
so
be
there's no
happy
point
about
even
it.
talking about it.
Look, if that happened, I'd be happy with that. Like I'd
Yeah.
consider that my point proven, even if like I
moral
lose the
victory,
bet,
yeah, moral victory.
Yeah, moral victory. Same with G2, if they made it work, and because they obviously had like part Serbian, part French speaking anyway. So if that happened, I would have taken it as a moral victory, and like you could have the 1,000 euros, but like I don't care.
Well, I want to reframe this, right? Because we've just gone over it, and like with the way Prof's putting it, yeah, it could work. Like on paper, I think with the experience of the players, and well, you have ZywOo, right? You have ZywOo. Let's remember that you have ZywOo, so it could work. But let me ask the question this way for you, Striker. Do you think that it's the best decision for the trio?
Oh,
Would there have been a better decision for Magic, dupreeh, and Zonic? Now, take finances out of it. I don't care, because I know that the paycheck for these boys is high and Vitality can afford it, but take that out of the equation. Was this the best career move if you still wanted to be one of the best Counter-Strike teams in the world?
look, I think it's honestly, I think it's the best move they could have made.
Okay.
Legitimately,
trio,
because
or-
you literally get like one of the 2 best players to play alongside one of the 2 best players in the world. You don't have Device anymore. Well, we have ZywOo now. He's literally a better player. Like, why not? Like, you legitimately get the best player or top 2 player of the last 3 years. Like, that's something that, and he hasn't, like, this is his peak time. He's still not going to be, he's still going to be at this level for a while. Like, it's not like a Device where you could maybe see like next couple of years, he's going to start falling off. This is like peak ZywOo that you're getting. Like, what the fuck other team are you going to get where you have somebody like that? Nobody.
Yeah.
So-
And the money's there. So almost both perspectives there. This is the thing. I was asking as a bit of a loaded question in the sense, do you think they could have built a Danish team that
They
would
could
have
have,
been
for sure,
good?
yeah. I know.
But you're right in
that
terms, you don't have a Danish player like ZywOo. So that just trumps all the
like
arguments.
the opera is legit. Like that's the problem. Like in Denmark right now, like that's the problem. You have no up and coming opera that's actually like could become the next Device or could become the next whatever, like a really big star opera. And so like there's like Eiko who's struggling on Mouse. There's Farley who was struggling on FPX. There's Lucky who's obviously not done so much. Like there's no opera that you can get outside of NiKo. By the way, that's like that. I guess that's one name that we should put out there because that was a possibility.
The Device move, the NIP move was kind of the thing that was maybe most expected. the Debris
Right.
to NIP, then maybe Magic's to NIP, the Zonic to NIP. That's what I.
That would
what,
never have happened.
In that point, I feel like that was like too much. But those two players, that would be also pretty. That would be easier to transition. I feel like still pretty good star player, but yeah, it's I can see from that perspective, like you get to play with Zayu. So I just hope it's not a failure. Like I can see how it can be a complete failure. Unlike the Astralis thing, I feel like Astralis right now, I don't think they can be like a failure. I think they're going to be a decent team very shortly, like a top 15 team. Like I don't know what the fuck happens with this Vitality. There is a chance where everything is fucked up and no one gets along with any, like nothing works on this team. So
I think that's what you said at the end there, that nobody gets along. I think that's the biggest factor, because I don't think there's any way that performance wise, if you don't consider like personalities and whatever, if they're going to fit together performance wise, I think there's no way this can be a failure. But like, obviously like two people don't really see eye to eye. Maybe Magisk and Dupree don't really see eye to eye with Apex or whatever like that. Zonic and Apex don't really work out, because we're expecting Apex to be in game leading this team. And that's also what Nell said in kind of like a follow-up tweet about it, that he's expecting Apex to keep in game leading, and that it's not going to be Magisk. And like obviously these two camps could just like go head to head and not really agree on a lot of things, and maybe like that like leads to a lot of disagreements, and they're not going to be massive fans of each other on a personal level as well, and stuff like that happens, and the team just doesn't work because of that, because it's like nobody sees eye to eye, and they just can't stand playing with each other. So like unless that happens, I think this team will always be competitive. Like this team will always compete for titles and be able to like go for deep runs and stuff like that. But yeah, I can definitely see that happening, where like personalities clash hard, and it's just like it just gets fucked in a half a year.
Yeah. Okay. Let's move forward. I want to make this next one quick. Striker, you already wrote an article, and I'm sure you have enough Brazilians in your DMs. Prof, do you want to do the honors on this one here?
Brazil bad. I think that's the thing. Was that Striker's article?
Can we cut that live, Lucas? We have a big red button we can push, like the Men in Black thing.
The article was Brazil 2 majors, Striker 0, and that's it. So shut the fuck up.
Give the people what they need. Bro.
Okay.
Give them what they need.
Zero and Fallen,
yes,
have gotten together.
Oh,
they talked a bit. They're like, do you remember the olden days? Do you remember how good it used to be?
Smoking cigars,
rocking
back and forth, drinking some whiskey.
It's
talking
like
about the old days.
Let's go back. Let's take us back. And they're like, who can take us back there? It's obviously for an FNX. So I don't know. Actually, I don't know.
Obviously, it's Fur and FNX. Now a reality TV star in Brazil.
The thing is, like, they need to buy out Fur from Oplano, so they need one buyout clause there, and then they need to buy out FNX from the reality TV show because we locked in for another season. They need to buy him out as well. I don't know who's going to afford this. It's going to be a Fallen
could
from
buy
Liquid.
them out. Yeah, you're right. He literally Fallen could buy himself out.
That's not what I meant.
Fallen could buy himself out and all of his teammates.
Probably.
He could. He really could.
I don't know. I feel like the Cold and Fallen thing is like that's maybe more serious. The second part is like less serious. Then there's the complexity angle that's like also just being talked about. But even from the start, just like Cold and Fallen, let's build another Brazilian team. It just feels defeatist, if that makes sense. It's just like, we can't do it anymore. We can't do it internationally. We're not going to be like the number one. We're not going to do that. We're just trying to build a Brazilian team, because you can't build a Brazilian team without Furia and maybe Godsend players. So if you go for that, if you buy out some of Furia, which I don't think will happen, if you don't buy out like maybe one player from Godsend, then this team is like, I don't want to talk about this team. This team is just like former amazing players getting back together, and we saw it. Like Striker wrote the whole article about it. We saw it so many times. It's not exciting. No one cares for them unless for the first like month or two. People say they care. You're not watching Dignitas matches, so shut the fuck up.
This is what we do. We go back to this same idea that I'm sure we've spoken about many times on this show. You get old NIP together. Forest, Fifi, Freiburg, Exist, right? You get them all together. You get them all back together. Get right in there. You get the old Navi. You get fucking Senya out there, Starix, Zeus, Edward, the boys. They're a team. You get the Poles, Taz, Neo, Pasha, the gang. They're all together again. You get these old Brazilian lads. Fucking throw them in a server together. You get
PGL Production. They show how to do an amazing throwback event from like...
WePlay can do it. It's fine. They do it. They're smashing it. We get Nothing. We get Freakazoid. We get Skadoodle. We get everybody back. We get Sean Cares.
Shroud.
Right. We get, like, I'll bring back Vox Emerald. I'll get Havoc and Top Gun out of retirement, right? We'll just get all of the old boys, the old guard, and we'll just go on tour like the Globetrotters, right? We'll go on and we'll do show matches. Every game will be rigged, but something will happen. Pasha will slam me through a table, right? You know, like all this stuff. And then the entertainment value. Everyone will tune in. We'll play like old maps only and shit. And it'll be scripted. Everyone will know. It'll be like the WWE of Counter-Strike. We'll put that on. That's the place for something like this.
That's the place where I can see this team dominating.
There you go. We'll let them have the era.
Era back. Let's go.
You know, that's what we do. That's what we want. We'll have it. That's what we need. So if anybody wants to get in touch and bring that idea back, you know where to find my email. All right. That's it for the Brazilian stuff until there's something a little bit more substantial. EG back to NRG Trio. I just thought they were dead. Weren't they just dead? Aren't they dead?
Doesn't look like it.
Why are you constantly saying EG is dead? They message us saying,
well, now they're going to tweet and say, well, we're not dead. Guys,
your
come
guy,
on.
SPUNJ, keeps saying we dead. We not dead. Look at this. We alive. Newspaper from today. EG.
Okay, Breeze and Cirque, you've got another life. You've got another chance. You got one more, right? There's a couple things here. We'll save the Stanislaw one. North America, if you're watching, if any of you want to take a risk on the next generation of Counter-Strike players in your country, buy Floppy, buy Oboe. Oh, I almost said something I can't say. Buy Junior, right? Get those three. And maybe in the near future, some other young talent may come available. Put them in a team as well.
I mean, there's literally the whole Bad News Bears team and the Party Astronauts teams, which have like 2 or 3 decent players in them, which are not signed. So I'm not saying like scavenge this team, but probably scavenge this team. You know, that's how it goes.
I have to wait until more stuff happens so that I can do like the full roster. Because like there, I was like, fuck, I can't do that. So
saying people shouldn't sleep on Xseed.
Anyway, the whole thing's ruined. I'll go back to my Stanislaw thing now. Here's the deal.
Go ahead.
Right, Stanislaw didn't have a great event.
Nope, he was the worst player of the major, I think.
Yeah, he didn't have a great event. Now here's the thing. You guys all know, for me, not only do I like watching Counter-Strike, I also like watching the players' personal lives, so I know exactly what's going on, so I can tell if a team is going to, implode or not.
Right? Yeah, Stan is going to block SPUNJ on Instagram.
He already doesn't follow me on Twitter and stuff. It's fine. He doesn't give a fuck. He's a Counter-Strike player. We don't need to get along. None of those things.
SPUNJ's going to make a new Instagram account, not Chad Burchill. And follow.
None of those things. Here's the deal. I don't think Stan's heart's in it. That's what I think. I don't think his heart's in it. I think that he has other priorities in his life, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But as I say, which almost feels like a week in, week out thing now, Counter-Strike is an elite level discipline. If you do not want to compete in an elite level discipline and other things are on your mind, go and do those other things. Go and do Valorant, right? If you want a paycheck and real life, you've already seen what Ethan and Nitro have done. Go do that. Please. Please. Go and do that. It means nothing to me that you are one of the only North American in-game leaders. I don't care. I think that there's a lot of money being paid to people who are there just for a paycheck. So let's get the next generation of North American kids coming through, pay them a third as much. Pay them a third as much and then nurture them. But if you don't want to be there, and maybe I'm wrong, maybe he does want to be there and I just completely misunderstand him. But for me, it doesn't seem, your heart has to be in this, like 100%. Your heart has to be at 100%. So I think EG are fucked. I think right now the best thing for North American Counter-Strike is to merge Liquid and EG with the best parts and build the best team you can. So yeah, I don't know if you guys want to talk about this team anymore, but I don't really have a lot to say about them.
Yeah, I don't even know what's going to happen in the. I don't even think NA knows what's going to happen with any of the two teams know what's going to happen at this point. I think it's still kind of like all up in the air and like kind of like depending on each other and like whether like somebody goes from one side to the other and stuff like that. I feel like this is still all up in the air because like basically you aren't playing anything until like the end of the year or something like that. And then Liquid, of course, have some events, but like they can just coast through them, and like we
it could
see
happen
Vitality.
now, though, right? What you're talking about, I think it's important to mention. It could happen
blasting.
like as of today, as of 4 hours ago. They could have submitted new rosters and they could literally have it. It depends on how big of a dick these teams are swinging around at each other, right? Like if I was Liquid and I knew that half the boys didn't want to be there and that this guy didn't want to play and this guy wanted to go somewhere else, and I could make the roster change and I could make it all happen, which is really hard to do, I'd prefer to do that, right? And if Blast have made that possible, right, and they've
if they get some of these like new kids on the block just to trial them, just like get someone to come in better. It's better that than to play with like Fallen, who is like his preparation for the match is like, let's say what's FNX doing, calling him on the phone, hey man, what's going on, talking to Oplano, to their management, seeing like how much they buy it, like what's the point of having him on a team if he doesn't want to do it.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that's big business, and that's where a lot of this does come into play. I think Blast did the right thing today. Like I think they did the right thing today.
Yeah.
I think that's, and it's really unfortunate for them because I want to make people understand, because you two can give the perspective of why it doesn't make sense from a competitive standpoint very easily. I want to give it why it makes sense from a tournament organizer. First of all, you have to book all this shit. Could you imagine a team just deciding after you've booked all their fucking flights and accommodation, hey, yeah, actually, you need to book 3 brand new flights. You can't just change the names. To
be honest, in those cases, the teams should just pay for it.
Oh, they should,
right? but they would, but they wouldn't want to do that. But they should.
Yes.
Well, that's what. But that's something that you can still work around and not have to put like a super strict rule. So you can say just
content
like
as
we're just gonna
well.
play.
I didn't talk about content. Like a lot of things, the Blast made the cards,
preparing all the
that
graphics and all that stuff, getting the stats, getting the data.
Them. But you're right in the sense from the competitive standpoint. So take the floor striker in terms of the competitive standpoint, because I agree with you.
Look, like nobody wants to see dead teams playing, like especially if like rules are the only thing keeping them from making changes, right? Like if there's like you have to wait for contracts and stuff like that, you just have to play out some tournaments that you're just locked in for. Like of course, like just fucking play with whatever you have, right? But if nothing else is in your way and it's all about the rules and like roster locks in place, just fucking let them play with the actual lineup that they want to play with, and not have to play with a dead lineup that's not going to care. Like it's not going to do your event any good that you have a team that doesn't want to be there, that doesn't want to compete at a high level, that doesn't want to win, or maybe wants to win but doesn't care enough to win. So like this doesn't, I think Tommy said it best, like this doesn't actually do anybody any good. It doesn't do the team any good, doesn't do the tournament organizer any good, doesn't do the team organization any good. There's nobody that doesn't do the fans any good. Like you want to see the new team playing as soon as possible, because that's the biggest narrative that we have in Counter-Strike essentially when big moves happen, and like the most exciting anyway. Like the TO is going to actively profit from having these new teams play their event first and not anybody else's, right? Because that's where the eyeballs are going to be, and not at a dead team that's just past their expiration date, right? So it doesn't do anybody any good. So why is this rule in place? Because of some fucking like organizational things that you can just actually work around. Just tell the teams, we're going to pay for 6 flights, and whatever else you decide to do, like you have to pay on top of that. Like that's your responsibility. That's not us. And so if you want to make a change, make it, but you have to pay for it. That's what you need to do. Or you have to figure out how to reschedule these flights or whatever. And if it's like, come on, graphics, you can do within a couple of days. Like there's no problem. Like, of course, maybe set it like 3 days before or whatever like that, but not a fucking 3 weeks. Which is what the standard was for Blast, as far as I can tell, because it was set for November 3rd, which is exactly 3 weeks before the tournament.
That's the thing. Like, what is worse for the viewer? To have like a cool hero shot of a team when one player isn't actually playing, or to have a team that is there, having that graphic, the video being super nice, but the actual team we know is going to be shit and not going to be playing well. And there's all of these reports like this guy's out. So yeah, it's I understand from their perspective, and they should have some deadlines in terms of, teams, players. They can be kind of assholes in a lot of ways. And we saw that during the major as well, with all the problems that PGL had. A lot of the things came from the players and the organizations, or were super overblown, or were just presented in a way that's kind of like, this is a super massive problem about this, but it's not about this. It's actually about this. And this is just a result of this, how these things go. So yeah, fuck them. But also just like, let's kind of work on this. Roster locks in general, not the best thing.
I just want to I want to be clear as well. I don't know Blast reasoning for the roster locks. I'm kind
just
of
because now you're hired for Blast.
Yeah, it doesn't mean I actually know that. But if I would, I'm just saying from a production perspective, there's a lot of positives for knowing these things in advance, right? Okay, so there's a lot of North American stuff swelling around right now, right? There's rumors that the multiple members from Liquid might be going. There's rumors now about Nitro, because he played a couple of FaZe games, potentially returning to Counter-Strike from Valorante. Those things right there. I don't know if we have enough substantial. The thing is, we could theory craft so much shit, but I don't know what to do with it.
Can I theory craft one thing that I feel like is just on the cards, and I don't know anything about this, by the way. We saw Adren return to Liquid, right? There's no way this is just like another reunion that's just gonna be back to Stewie, Adren, Nitro, kind of like as the core liege, you know, like back to that same core and just like one different player, you know.
I don't think that'll happen.
I feel like it's too obvious that it's probably gonna happen, you know.
I don't think if Nitro was to return, right? Like that's a conversation within itself. There's so many possible constellations of rosters that could happen, right?
That's 100%. Yeah.
The funniest thing is, like, I've literally heard exactly contradictory rumors about not even just NA teams in general, but especially some of these NA teams. It's like, oh, this guy is going, and this guy and this guy, they're leaving and going here, and the other team, the other rumors like those two guys, they're the core of the new team. They're going to build around them. I'm like, how can these two rumors even coexist? And they're not from like random people. Like, these are like people that are talking to people that are in the know. I'm like, how can this even be? And then it actually makes sense, because that's the level that we are right now, because no one knows what's going to happen. It's like, all depends on like, can I get this guy? Then I can get this guy. Then I'll build around this guy. But if I can't, then fuck all of this. Then I'll do something completely different. So that's kind of where we are right now. And anything is possible.
So the thing is,
that's why I was talking about, like, I don't think even the teams know what's going to happen at this point, because it's like dominoes. You know, one player decides this is not for me and fuck it, and then like the whole plan changes, and it's just like, okay, let's go back to this idea and stuff like that. It's just like, it literally depends on like fucking whatever 15 players probably that are kind of like in the discussion to move. You know, so like one of them decides something and like everything falls apart and stuff like that. So it's like that's where NA is at this point. I don't think they're one of the teams that's going to change before Blast. I don't think that had anything to do with them, but it's possible. Maybe they already have one change that's kind of like in the pipeline. Maybe they don't want to play with Fallen anymore because, like, you know, whatever, he wants to do his own thing, right? So that, like, it's possible for sure, but I think it's going to be like a couple of months down the line when they figure out what's going to happen, and like by the end of the year, essentially, because that's kind of like why like EG seem to be in that place where they just have some time to figure this out and don't really have to rush into anything. So I'm not entirely sure that we're going to see the full lineups until maybe like the break, essentially.
Let's put a cap on the North American discussion, because there's two things here. Like, a lot of people want us to talk about this, but at the same time, we'd literally be talking out of our ass with all these different possibilities, right? Like, so that right there isn't going to do anybody any good, because it won't be concrete. When we get a bit more information, we can talk about it more. Now, I want to say, I hope that Liquid make changes before Blast. Just from some of the things that the rummages I've heard, I hope they make changes before Blast. Do I think they will? Probably not, right? But I would like to see them make changes. So let's keep going, because I did say 2 hours and another 5 minutes. So I guess, guys, what I want you to do, I want everybody to set your clocks back right now by about 15 or so minutes, and we'll see if we can get it done in that much time. All right, continuing to move forward here. Complexity dissolved the roster. We've all caught that. We've already spoken about the Cold Zero rumors with Fallen. We have already seen what's happened to Blame and Config. That kind of just leaves Esatag and JKS. Now, Esatag, apparently you guys at home have been sniffing out the idea that he's going to head to NIP. That one right there, I think, as a replacement for a Plopsky or an LNZ, in terms of experience and being a bit of a glue man and maybe giving them a bit more flexibility in how they want to approach the game. I think that generally, right, makes a bit of sense.
Makes sense, I think.
I think one of the issues there is maybe if you're a Swedish Counter-Strike fan, you worry that NIP and now Fnatic are both no longer primarily Swedish. But I want to quickly remind you that right now there is literally an academy league going on, where NIP are nurturing the future talent. Oh, I'm doing NIP a favor. the future talent of Sweden. So don't worry about that too much yet, because I think that the time for Sweden will come. Hopefully,
that's a big topic in Sweden. I talked to Jigorn, and I talked to like some of these people like while I was at the major, and like that's something that clearly they're working on, like some kind of an infrastructure that's going to help some the talents go up, and that's something that obviously Sweden has had a massive problem with. There being like a huge gap from like being a nobody to the biggest teams. You know, there's like basically like there's no middle steps, and that's something they're working on. So shout out to them. That's kind of a cool project.
Do we want to sink our teeth into this ESSA tag situation anymore? Like until we know into who's replacing? Like,
we talked about it already. Like,
yeah, we already covered it off.
So right. I think it's like it just makes sense, right? So I think it's reasonable.
The JKS one. Right now, I can tell you that Justin's still in Denmark. He hasn't gone back to Australia just yet. I don't know how much he would want me to say, but in terms of his options, assessing them. I think that for me, if ropz does go to FaZe, JKS to Mouse isn't bad.
Actually pretty good, yeah.
If there's a North American rebuild, North America should definitely be knocking on his door if they need somebody to fill out one of those roles. So I think that for him, like absolute worst case, ends up finding himself on Renegades in Australia, and then having probably more opportunities than he would have had at the moment to be vying to go to majors. However, no longer being considered someone vying for championships, right? Whereas right now it could still be floating around in those areas. So yeah, maybe, I don't know. Do you guys have any ideas for poor little Juzzy Bear?
I mean, I think Mouse is a very obvious place to go for him because it's kind of like the most obvious one-to-one replacement for ropz. Obviously, like, you know, level wise, like it's a big difference, right? Especially after what we've seen from JKS and complexity. But like, there's not many people who can replace ropz, and there's especially not many people who Mouse can afford that can replace ropz. So I think that is a big deal. I think for Mouse Sports, whether they can even afford JKS is also a question. I don't know how big the buyout could be, but obviously complexity is a pretty big org, and I don't know when was Justin signed. It was like midway last year, right?
Yeah, this time last year.
This time even? Okay, yeah. So this is pretty late. So I mean, they had 2-year contracts, so we could imagine that he has another year of a contract ahead of him. So that could be a potentially pretty big buyout.
I don't know what his contract is like, but a lot of players have that like 3 months on the bench, I walk kind of a situation. Right. So maybe not a lot, but that is something that is fairly common. So who knows if that's his case?
I don't know. This I didn't actually discuss with him. I didn't ask him those details. That kind of shit is like a whole different world for me. I probably should have. All right, what do we got coming up on the next one here? Spirit rebuilding. Keep Mir and Degster. The rest of them you can probably do something else.
But Mir's already out,
which doesn't make sense. Where's he going?
Anywhere. He has to be going to
anywhere
some
but
other
here,
team,
right? First ticket out of Spirit. Thank you very much. So yeah, it's him, Chopper, and now SDY as well, who said like, fuck this, we're out.
SDY is also in his Twitlonger though, saying that he speaks English.
Yeah, he wants to do. He's primarily looking for English-speaking teams. That's what he said.
So that's interesting.
I think something that a lot of CIS players actually realize is like, if I play for an international team, I get international money, which is much bigger than CIS money. That's true. Maybe this is not a bad thing to go for. I'm not saying like he's only driven by that, but you know, it is definitely a thing. Mir is for me one of the players
hottest prospect right now. Like in terms of pickup.
Yeah. I think he is pretty good. I think he is someone that Mouse should be looking at as well. I don't know how well that could work, but I think they could definitely work some Mouse magic and like sign a player that they shouldn't have on their roster. It's just like the classic thing the Mouse does all the time. But I don't know. I think a lot of teams are looking at him right now. NA teams, whatever. I don't know how good his English is. Never spoke to him. I don't think it's good. That is though mostly because he really doesn't like doing interviews. It's not even about English. When we spoke to like Spirit guys who would do like text translation, he just doesn't want to do it. So that's bad on his marketing though, because obviously now we don't know anything about it.
I want to do a little bit of an experiment here with you boys and see if we can build, because we already know there's 3 good CIS teams, right? Like, there's no comment on Navi, Gambit, Virtus Pro. And then Entropic, like, if you wanted to leave them as they were, you could. That's fine. But that's not part of my game that I'm playing. I'm not saying strip down and ruin Entropic. What I'm saying is, I had people tweet at me who they think would make a good team outside of those top 3 names we mentioned, right? Different rosters. So I've kind of put these names in different buckets, right? Now, let's assume that Mia is in everybody's because in my mind, he should be.
For sure.
But then in-game leaders, here's the 3 I want you to pick from. Nickelback, Jerry, or
Chopper.
Just had yes, Nickelback, Jerry, or Chopper. Which one of those 3?
Not Chopper.
No. So then it's down to 2. But Jerry or Nickelback. And Nickelback actually,
I don't know. I don't know
good.
a lot about Nickelback. I can only speak to what from what I heard from Hooch, and he speaks pretty highly of him. So that's like something. Jerry obviously much more experience, much more has both a lot more exposure. So I know much more about him. It's kind of a toss up for me, honestly. I don't know which one I would pick. I don't even think like performance wise, there's a big difference in between them. So it's kind of hard for me without knowing exactly what they do for the team, right?
Sure. Yeah. The next one I was probably going to say, Prof, was like AWPers. Like, who would you be resting your hat with? Like a Dexter, an Alien?
Dexter,
there are a lot of good AWPers.
Dexter didn't really perform that well, I feel like, at this event.
So it has to be Alien?
So for me, it has to be Alien in it. But who else are we missing? Are we missing someone?
There's like a lot. There's that Deco kid.
Deco kid,
Monacy.
Wonderful.
Yeah. I was looking through the CIS
Alien
players last night.
at this moment, probably Alien, honestly. Just because land proven factor. But Dexter is also going to be a great player. So if you're building long term, I think he's also a player that you can get.
Imagine this, right? Nickelback, Mia, Alien. I think Forrester is pretty fucking handy too.
Yeah,
right.
Pretty good.
And then
it's kind of a 1-to-1 for Mir, but I think they could make it work.
And then one more name, one more big frag. That's all you need. I reckon that'd be a sick team. I reckon that could be a really cool team. Anyway, my dumb game aside, let's keep going. FPX dropped the CS team. This one here, I don't know if it came as a shock to too many people. Like, I don't think any of the Flashpoint teams are still involved, right? Are they all gone now?
That was my reaction.
Well, there's involved. That who the fuck knows what's happening with Flashpoint? I don't even know if that project is still even alive. Yeah, but like the only team that currently has a roster,
Dignitas. Someone said in chat.
Dignitas.
MIBR?
That's it, I think.
Oh yeah, MIBR.
MIBR essentially have 2 rosters right now, so maybe you can count them. It's 4.
Well, okay, but yeah, I think we see where this one's going, right? So that's probably why it was that reaction. But I think what is curious about this is the players who are now free, right? We already mentioned Farley, right? We already mentioned him. But then you have Madden, who I think is a great pickup for anybody. I think Sticko is like a good glue man, like I was talking about with like a ESSA tag. Zen, if you want somebody to be a bit more experienced, Lurky and Clutchy, there's another name for your mix right there. So and obviously Emmy, but right, like him even in that team, I think was like for me, it's gonna be hard for him to find a team.
Can we bring up the thing that I did?
The article with all the free agents, and you left out Lober and Doc.
Oh no! Because
tracker.
Yeah. So if we go down to the bottom of this,
Luke, you got this for everybody at home. Can you put this on the screens for everybody?
There's like bench players, free agents, stuff like that. For me, Mir and then Madden are the maybe 2 most exciting players that are not talked about all the time. I think like Madden almost isn't mentioned by people like, oh, he's now available, blah, blah. For me, probably a player that one of these like top teams, like if Complexity is going international, I think they need to look at these 2 players as like as their stars for the team. They're going to be fairly cheap, I'd say, compared to some of the more experienced names, but you can build around them. They're on the Madden, especially on an upward trajectory in his career, still just getting used to everything. But Mir's been around, been pretty consistent, even though his LAN game at the major was like not that exciting. It was okay, but it was also Spirit, who are just a team that crumbles all the time. So I don't know how much of it is on him, how much is on the team. But yeah, those two players for me are super underrated. And then if you want to go CIS, like Lollipop 21K, also a player that's been around for some time, been carrying that Nemiga
Played
team
with
all the time.
the flip side.
Played the flip side for a bit, yeah.
Yeah. You know that Blade's hands have been all over that. So it is important. It is very important.
True.
Yeah, I see what you're saying with that. I definitely see what, like, the thing is we've got names on this list here that, you know, if we see them get back on a team, it's going to be wild. Like Lucas and Henny, like, do they get back on a team? Like, fucking hell.
I mean, Henny should be.
Yeah, but if he's attached to the hip, maybe he can bring his brother along as a stunt double. So when they have to do media stuff, Lucas can go do the media and Henny can just keep shooting people with the AWP.
I don't know.
Not a bad idea. Probably one of the better ideas we've had all
Lucas
day.
now has like a big tattoo on his neck, so I think he's much more recognizable now. So it's kind of hard.
Well, we can fix that. You know, they can get the tattoos that look the same. We can definitely do something about that. They don't even have to be real. We can just put on some fake tattoos. It's all good. We'll work it out. Don't worry about that, Striker. You're getting in the details here. We had to look outside of the box. Oof.
People are asking, where's Guardian?
Names.
Guardian is actually on a team with
Yes,
Seized.
with
Where's
Seized.
Gorillas? Gorillas actually a signed team, just didn't reveal with who
How are they
yet.
still? They're not signed still, are they?
They
No,
still
no.
are. They still are.
No, I mean,
organization.
still, they still haven't been unveiled. So it would be amazing if they got dropped before being unveiled. That would be like, that would be some next level shit.
Where are all the AWPers? Where are all the free agent AWPers? Where the fuck did they go? If they're all Russian, or they don't
Pretty
exist?
much. Yeah.
They're all signed to Russian teams. But that's the thing. I mean, maybe you can sign them, maybe you don't. Maybe you can't sign them. Maybe they're too expensive. But they're probably less expensive than a fucking Zaiwu or some shit. There is also a thing that we don't have here, but it's also a big factor in this whole transfer period is like when contracts are expiring.
Yes.
Fortunately, we don't have that. That does not exist publicly. Rest in peace, Henry G. Your legacy. Your legacy will always be remembered. But someone like ropz, we kind of have a feeling that's going to be. By the way, I think he's in chat, so shout out to him. His contract is maybe going to come up soon. Brokey has been in FaZe for 2 years. Is it a 2-year contract?
He'll be
Did he extend already? Who knows what's going on? Yeah, he feels happy there, but we'll see. We'll see. There's a bunch of players like this that could be kind of at the end of their contracts, which could make them be a good pick for someone.
If Carrigan gets ropz, twists, and Brokey, holy shit! Like that team sounds.
I mean, that would
sick
be
on
crazy
paper.
as fuck.
Doesn't that sound
That's what I'm
sick on
saying.
paper? Like with Rain, Carrigan there, like it sounds really good.
That's
That's the only way you beat me in this fucking bet. That's the only way.
That's my way out, man. I'm like, what is it? 2 years left? Something like that.
I don't know. I think we say. I think I said something
We
like
said
5
5 years.
years.
No?
Yeah,
And I think it's been
I'm
like
so stupid.
over 2 now.
I'm so stupid. Okay, well, we could sit here and speculate about this shit all day, but I did say I wanted to keep this one to a shorter episode because it is a Friday night. So, look, we're gonna do an episode next week with Simple. We're probably gonna do an episode next week before I fuck off to Denmark, and then we're probably gonna do an episode during Denmark, right? So,
A lot of episodes.
Please don't overpromise. We're already over delivering so much.
Well, I don't know. I enjoy doing this, so look. The only person who doesn't enjoy doing this is Lucas, and he's not saying anything right now.
That's a lie.
That was the least convincing statement I've ever heard in my life.
All right. Well, we've covered off actually a lot of stuff here tonight. There's probably some other things which we could maybe when we get to the questions at the end, we'll have a look at a couple. Let's do this Paramatch Matchmaker, and then we will round it out with upcoming events just quickly and some questions that are left over. Lucas, do you have the link for that? Can you send it to me? Actually, fuck it. I just have to keep looking over here. I just look like I never want to look at where the webcam is. It looks so dumb. But that's my bad for not having it linked up properly. Thank you. All right. So we got the Paramatch Matchmaker here this evening, guys. And you did this one again, right, tonight, Prof?
Yeah, I put this together, but we can just do one each, I feel like.
You want to explain the concept for everybody playing at home?
So the concept is it's an awful concept. I tried to figure out a way to these are the orgs who they should sign, but then we can't put 50 players there.
Yeah.
So I was trying to figure out maybe which regions they should go to, and then while we pick the region, we can explain maybe some of the players that they should look forward to signing. Okay, so that's the premise.
All right. Well, can I go first?
Yeah, go.
All right. Complexity should buy Copenhagen Flames. Done.
Okay.
I think that makes a lot of sense for this organization. They're going to trim down their expenditure that they just had on really expensive players. I think we all knew that Blame had massive contract, so you would all assume that the rest of the players on the team had something pretty good. Copenhagen Flames is already a team that just needs to be bought, and if they keep all the pieces of that team, it's ready to go, ready to hit the ground running.
$500,000 buyout seems ridiculously small right
Doesn't
now,
it?
even though maybe they peaked. Maybe they like top 10 result at the biggest tournament in the world. Maybe that's their peak. But even if their level is like 15, you can still for that price feels like kind of okay for a whole team and for probably some spots at good events based on the ranking.
Well, they'll get a blast spot and a Pro League spot, right?
Yeah, it's complexity, right?
Yeah.
Plus
So-
some invites based
true.
on like actually being good. So.
It feels like a good relationship, though, of things that we're saying, like about Copenhagen Flames and about complexity. And it's like we'll merge all the spots, the partner spots, with a team on the rise who are hungry, and you merge them together. You don't pay them too much because you don't want that to be a big issue. You want to pay them enough, guys. I want them to get paid, but you don't want to pay them too much where that can fracture things and they're not motivated anymore. You want to keep them hot, right? You want to keep them hot to trot. Anyone want to take EG?
I mean,
I'll
they've
take
already
EG
said.
too.
I mean, I can take that one. I think
Yeah, go
that
for
they've
it.
already said North America that they want to keep investing into North America. Like they've made that whole statement. I think that was Danny Engels, which is Director of Gaming Excellence. I think his title is a
I want a
fantastic
title like
man.
that.
That's a really good title.
We'll
man.
give you a title. Do you want a title here for the show?
Yeah, I want a made up title.
We'll make something.
We'll
up.
make something up. Yeah.
Nice.
Like
Okay,
some
cool.
Game of Thrones shits. I mean,
Good,
so
good.
that's kind of like a cop out answer because they've already said it. So they're just going to keep in North America. I think it seemed like there was a lot more options for them before the major, but I guess at some point they
there'll
just
be
decided.
some options.
Yeah, exactly. I guess at some point they just decided, okay, we're just going to keep a North American roster. So that's where they're going. Who the fuck they're going to get? Who the hell knows at this point, right? Like it could be like a million players. It will probably depend a lot on what Liquid does and how that dominoes, because I don't think EG are in a position to steal players from Liquid. They're just going to have to wait until their players get stolen, or if somebody gets goes out of Liquid on their own accord, or they get kicked or something like that. Maybe that's something that they could look into. You know, there's like there's obviously I mean, never mind. I was going to say Obo, but he was literally just released. So then never mind.
It depends on how the civil war goes between between Liquid, right?
Yeah,
Like,
I think that's a big. I think that is kind of like what EG is currently waiting for and seeing whether
Which
like what
part
happens out of
wins.
that. Yeah, exactly. Like maybe we're going to lose all players and we're just going to have nobody, and just build from the start, or we're gonna get to keep Cirque and who the fuck? There you go, Breeze,
Yeah.
and
We can
build
build
around
around
them.
them.
So
Yeah.
I think that's a good start. Like if they get to keep those two, I think that's a good start, and you can actually make something good out of it if you find the right people. So I think that's cool.
all right, let's go into Liquid. Prof, assume when you do this, right,
Yes.
that they are going to take from North America, but assume that Cirque is now North American. You get to keep any of the Liquid members you want, and you get to have anybody else from North America, including Xtrfy and JKS, to build your team. What's your team?
So saying like we can make one or two changes on Liquid. Then
You can make as
in
many
North
changes
America.
as you want, but just assume that you stay as like the big dick, right? You're the North American flagship team. You can put whatever team you want. Who are you keeping?
This is the toughest team, I think, to talk about roster changes. Because I don't know who would even go out, who would stay. The Stu versus Fallen in-game leading thing, like both can stay and do some in-game leading. Maybe both leave, and we figure out like a third guy to come in and in-game lead. Maybe someone that's in the team can in-game lead, even though I don't believe in the Elige can in-game lead thing. I think that's just never going to happen. If it was going to happen, it would have happened
The fantasy
already.
line.
Yeah, I don't
It's a
think
bad
it's gonna
idea in the
happen.
first place. So.
So, but what if, let's say, what if Elige leaves? and what if Elige and Fallen leave, and then we have Stewie, we have Grim, and we have NAF. Then we need a fucking good rifler, and then we go into CIS and we pick up Mir.
All right. Well, you just broken all the rules there. But is that the way
you put up the rules?
Yeah, you broke them down. That's fine.
I said fuck these rules. But then for the 5th guy, you can pick up any opper. You pick up OC and then even though I don't know how. I mean, he should probably accept the offer if it comes.
What this is a team I want to float, and then you can pick, and then we can be done. What about? Are you ready?
Yep.
Here it is. Stewie, in-game leading. NAF, they always look buddy-buddy. Stewie and NAF look like 2 peas in a pod. Breeze. Dirk. JKS.
I knew it was coming, man. I knew.
That's some like liquid 2018, 17, 18, wet dream 18.
Well, it was just to see if we could get people.
Like these are all the players that at some point Liquid wanted to get. JKS was definitely on the list for some time. I think he didn't want to go. Then NAF was also not really. I mean NAF, Breeze, and Cirque, and that is also a possibility.
Delusional JKS fan just reporting in. That's all. I just wanted to make that
he got
clear
10 years.
Everybody.
I think he got 10 years.
What?
He got 10 years. That's like a perma ban on.
Is he
on
still
HLTV.
banned?
I mean, it's just happened, and it's like we haven't been knowing each other for 10 years, so it's probably unlikely that he got unbanned. 10 years of it's a long time.
That's rough, man.
That's half of the bet that you made.
That's
and
rough.
You're still winning.
That's rough. Okay. What are you gonna click? You're gonna go with CIS. You think
I
you
clicked
already
CIS.
did? Okay. Mouse Sports. I guess it's my turn again. Other JKS to replace ropz. Okay.
Yeah.
You're in striker with FaZe.
FaZe, I mean, it's gotta be ropz, right? It's like it just has to be. Like it's been in the works for too long for it not to happen in the end. It would just be such a heartbreak. And it's like kind of like the perfect storm for this to finally happen. It's just like this is the time, right?
Okay.
So I'll pick Europe, whatever.
All right.
And it's
ropz to FaZe. And then well, we know this. How are you going to make it work, mate?
How not?
Well, you want to add Madden. You want to get rid of Jack.
Madden's an aggressive player, to be fair.
Yeah.
I know the whole team is just going to be aggressive, right, Prof?
But
just go fuck it. Like let's go.
But it's not.
If everybody shoots them in the head, then you're going to win.
Yes. Kind of makes sense. I'm not sure it's going to happen because like two Balkan never good. Balkan's best when they're like somewhere else. That's a class. Everyone knows this. Balkan people in Balkans, absolute worst people. But then they go to Germany and they work like a basic job in Germany. They're like, oh, this is the best guy in the world. He's doing the amazing job. So that's kind of the meme, at least here. And then they come back here and then they're trash again. So yeah, I feel like then we're you're Balkanizing G2 too much. But he's a good player. He's a really good player. I feel like he could do the Jack stuff.
Okay. And then you need an AWPer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would pick CIS for G2, to be honest. I feel like that's kind of like the perfect storm.
We've done one and the other. You get one.
Who'd you get from CS?
I mean, could be Alien, could be a guy like Wonderful. Some like the fucking perfect offer for G2.
Alien could be a good offer for G2.
Passive opper who's just going to be like the whatever, like a
consistent
brokey Alien, whatever, some guy like that who's not going to be another aggressive player like Chad was just saying, like who's just going to do his shit, let Hunter and NiKo do all the aggression and just like create space for him, and he's going to be the guy who's just going to click away, right? So that's what I picture for G2.
Want to see. People are mentioning a kid who's going to be locked up in a Navi Academy contract forever.
Yeah.
Are they playing right now?
They were meant to start at 6:30. I've been watching that today. I want to get the optics back on this shit. Where are they?
They got 16-3 against my mouse on the first map, and now
which was their pick.
And then they won the second.
Yeah,
map 3.
And they're playing Mirage.
And Flamey is top fragging for them.
Oh, that's
right. Modesty bottom frag in their win.
Wow.
Is he an onliner?
Are you guys in chat even watching? Hopefully not. Hopefully you're watching this. All right.
no disrespect, this by the way joke before cybersports.ru reports on me saying Bonus is an onliner. 16-year-old kid, I don't want him to be bullied based on like a random comment.
I just have a question for Chad mainly.
Yes.
The only two teams or two things on the right we didn't pick was Xtrfy and Brazil. We left those
they're
out.
kind of fucked. I think they're kind of fucked. I think for Liaz and Gratisfaction, their best bet would be hoping they can find an opening on Renegades. I think that's probably the best thing that they could hope for. I think for Aaron, his options are going to be quite limited. He's going to need to in-game lead for a team because he's a bit older now, so he's going to have to, and he's going to want to stay in Europe. I believe.
I think
he lives in Denmark,
he could find a team though. I feel like he can find a team. I think he'll find a team. One of these orgs that's like trying to reshuffle, do some new stuff, or come back in, and he's just like a decent in-game leader. That's not gonna be, that's just gonna be a stable baseline for the team. You can pick him up.
Yeah.
Like back in the days, we were saying like the FPX Godsend Smash core should have gotten him. They didn't get him. A lot of shit happened. They never got an in-game leader. So rest in pepperonis. But for a team like that, international team, he can do good stuff.
Yeah. Okay. Let's go to playtime, Lucas. We'll quickly go over some upcoming events and viewer questions, and then we'll be done. And we are back. Thank you for hanging with us. So upcoming events, let's paint this picture very quickly for everybody. So right now we are quickly winding up the year, right? But the year of Counter-Strike isn't done just yet. A couple of big ticket items you need to keep on your agenda. If you're in Denmark, and if you're not in Denmark, and you want to watch some Counter-Strike in a couple weekends time, Blast Premier Fall Finals will be on in the Royal Arena, which is normally packed out with Screaming Danes. That one's going to be an important event for the big name teams. So yeah, that has Navi, NIP, Heroic, Vitality, FaZe, Liquid, Big, and Astralis. We'll bring you more of that next week. The V4 Festival is happening. That has actually Gambit, Entropic, Big, and the Movistar Riders at that one. So a couple of names from the major just gone. As we move forward, IEM Winter to cap things off as far as ESL events goes. That one has G2, Gambit, NIP, Heroic, Vitality, Virtus Pro, FaZe, ENT, Mouse, Liquid are some of the notable teams. And then I think like the finale of the year will be the Blast Premier World Finals. Which obviously still have to lock a couple more teams in for that one. So that's basically it for the big boy events.
Actually, interesting from what has been said, the Blast one is the Blast Fall Finals is the last stadium event of the year. The Global Finals will not be a stadium event. That's according to ESL Twitter thread where they noted all of the events.
Okay.
And also according to Logic,
you couldn't do it.
There is nothing being said about like a LAN event, like a stadium event, and no stadiums are being sold out and packed up in like a month or even less. It's very unrealistic for me to expect like, oh, we'll announce ticket sales 2 weeks from now. That's like 10 days before an event. And that's going to be like a stadium event in Denmark where we just had a stadium event a month ago. Yeah, it just doesn't seem very feasible.
Probably be LAN, right? It would have to be LAN, but maybe it's not a massive arena. Maybe it's something a bit smaller, a bit more.
Maybe
intimate.
There's a smaller crowd or something, but it's like for people to be, if you want a stadium event, tune in to Blast and don't be like, oh, there's going to be another event. You never know. We don't know when we have a next major. It should be next year, but who the fuck knows what's going to happen? So should be like May. I think that's the date. But who knows with Corona? Anything could happen.
I think we need to be looking forward to, like, this is the one thing I took away from the major is the sentiment of, like, let's make sure we make the most of what we have while we have it. Because you don't know what's going to happen, right? That sentiment right there, I think a lot of people need to make sure they keep in the back of their minds, right? Like, let's focus on the good while we have the good. And if the bad happens again, well, fuck, right? But that's kind of the year running on down. Striker, do you have any key things you'll be looking out for there? Or is it just seeing these roster changes?
Yeah, I mean, I think these last 2 months are going to be kind of like slowly unfolding, like what the new teams are going to be, and then like the start of next year is when we'll finally get to see all of that at the same time. I think there's still going to be a lot of teams slowly making changes to their roster.
Okay, I want to bring something up here just to the public before we get into these questions. So I go on these spiritual adventures every now and again, and I was on one of my spiritual adventures the other night, and I wrote in our little Discord group because I had a bit of a thought here, and I know I want to disclaimer this. I understand that the communication behind this should have been much better if what I'm about to say was the case. However, Valve work in mysterious ways, and maybe this is the case. I want you all to come at this with open minds. I wrote, do you believe the modification of the signature sticker distribution is a way to scale a crowd-funded prize pool directly to the players? Now, for those of you who don't understand what I mean, previously stickers at certain points were given to all of the 16, right? Back when it was only 16 in the major. Then ever since we went across to the 24 teams, they were giving it out to 24. A lot of stickers, a lot of players, a lot going on there. Now, I understand that a lot of people now have attributed that to, oh, it's a reward for making the major. But the way that this scales now, the fact that they've done with the championship one just for NAVI, the winners of the event, and then the rest within the playoffs, like I could make a pretty decent argument for this being a way to have a crowd-funded prize pool scaled, which is going to, first of all, benefit you based on where you placed in the event, first or top 8. And if you have a large fan base, then they will buy more. Right, like so I don't know if it's going to work out better for NAVI here, being in their own sticker capsule, and the other 7 being in their own sticker capsule. I'm not sure how that's going to pan on out, but that was just a weird thought that I had. Am I really off? You and I had a back and forth, Prof.
Yeah.
Do you have any more thought about it?
Yeah, for me, I didn't really think about it more. But even originally, when I saw the top 8 only getting signature stickers, I understood how it could make sense. Of course, when you give something to someone and then you take it away, that's the worst thing you can do. People feel entitled to having that. This is actually kind of funny. I wasn't referencing anything right now. I was actually thinking about, like, let's say we draw, there's like fantasy on HLTV and there are prizes. And sometimes there are some bugs and some points don't get distributed right. So we recalculate things. And at some point someone says, oh, I'm number 1. I'm going to get this amazing thing. And then the issues gets fixed. So that guy actually shouldn't have been number 1, but he was number 1 and he saw this. And then someone other is number 1, and the only way we can fix this is like give a prize to both people, because we can do that, and in some other cases you can't do that. So going back to this is why people feel like, oh, this is shit, why can't we all get stickers for our signature stickers? But I feel like we should maybe make them a bit more exclusive, and I think that is fine to have them be only for the best of the best and not just for like 24 teams times 5 players. That's a lot of stickers, and some of these teams can qualify from like smaller regions. It doesn't feel equally as deserved as maybe someone else, you know. Then when you get to the event and you have to play for them against everyone's on the same playing field, feels like a bit more deserved thing. And again, the whole crowdfunding thing with Dota, we have it all go to the prize pool and it all gets distributed based on placings. And that's not the case in CS with the stickers, right? It's just essentially a popularity contest, depending on which bracket you fall into. If you're if you're a team that is, maybe you're not that good, but you're super popular, you might get still quite a lot of money, right? It depends on who else you're in the capsule with. So with this, we ensure that only the best teams are going to get something based on the result at that major, not based on the qualifying results.
Yeah.
Because these capsules are based on the qualifying results and maybe previous majors and stuff like that. So yeah, this definitely gives more money to the best teams, best players.
The rich get richer, and the world
actually
goes on.
the best get richer.
Not and that's the way it should be.
Yeah,
right. It's a competition. But anyway,
I mean, yeah,
like I said,
definitely feel bad for all the players that expected player stickers and didn't get them. The
communication
stickers
could have been much better.
Yeah, it's always about the communication.
Okay, do we have any questions that are good here? Has anyone had a gander?
Okay, there is one question.
I bet it's for Striker.
Young Pete. It says, SPUNJ dedicated, sorry to both of the profs. So how difficult was casting finals compared to any other stage of the major?
Arena casting in general was more of a challenge, as we all know. I've only done that previously.
We all know, yeah. I've cast a lot of arena.
No.
The people in chat.
That I'm an onliner in the casting world, right?
Okay.
That most of my casting has been done in the last year and a half, right? Where it's been online. The stuff I've done in the past, I've been with Sadicist, right? And they've been things where Henry's been sick, or I filled in. I think I filled in. Lauren was sick at one event. I filled in. and I think I casted with, I don't remember who I casted with. And then there was one more time I casted an entire event with Matt in China. But other than that, like before doing the stuff with Henry and Alex last year, I hadn't done a lot of like casting, right? But comparing that to the rest of the event, really difficult because it's the grand final. Like, it's like anything, right? Like for the players, it's obviously like all the pressure's there. It's like, man, like I've done so many casts now. Imagine if I say something dumb and fuck this up, right? Like that was running through my mind. That never runs through my mind. I never worry about saying something dumb. I was like, what if I do this wrong, right? Like that was a like a thought. But in terms of the thing that I think is that people at home probably miss is the fact that the casting can be average if the crowd is amazing, because the crowd, they're telling you how to react, right? They're reacting with you, right? Technically, you're all reacting to the same thing, but if they think something's sick, right? Well, yeah, it probably fucking sick. Like the crowd does a lot, and it's in those moments when people watch back in the cast and stuff, and they hear the crowd, that it can make up for maybe something that was a little bit flat. So I think the crowd plays a massive role in the casting, and it was fun, right? It was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. I really had a lot of fun with that. So, yeah, I don't know. I forget where I was going with this, but if I was to compare it, well, yeah, it's a 10 out of 10 difficulty, just because it's an arena and you don't want to fuck it up. That's about it.
There's another question. Maybe Striker, you can answer this. It's a question about Extas, French scene. Can something happen there? Is there like a double pony collab with some org coming in? Like, could this be a thing?
I mean, I think the org is the biggest question mark, I guess, because they haven't been able to get one in a while. And obviously there's a potential collaboration with Sharks as well. If you just get both of them into double pony, I haven't seen enough of double pony to kind of like understand the rules and everything like that. So it's kind of difficult for me to talk about like who he would replace and whatever. But obviously, like, I think from what I've heard, Ecstasy is actually like super appreciated by everybody. I haven't heard a negative thing about him, so I'm like, that's the only thing I can go by, right? Like, I haven't ever talked to the guy. I've never really heard him talk in English before, and I can only go by what people have said about him, and that's been overwhelmingly positive. So like, he obviously has something to bring to the French scene, and like, if that's in double pony, like, who else than double pony? It's literally the only other team that he can join and do something, so why not?
Cool. That about it?
That's it.
All right.
There's a lot of question. Everything was like, what does Liquid do? What does FaZe do? Is going to FaZe? It's not. It's all of these classic questions, but not a lot of questions.
The thing with this is we could go on for yonks about like, all this stuff, right? No, we won't. We're going to close it down now, guys. Lucas? Oh, okay. All right, everybody, hold up a second.
I think we don't need to promote Simple. I think Simple is pretty popular on its own.
Well, maybe people they don't keep up with the Twitter sphere, but this is what we need to do. Next Monday the 15th of November at 8 p.m. CET, no longer the S, we'll be having Simple live on bloody stream. We got him. We didn't pay 50K, so no one's poorer here. Martin was willing to do it, but we didn't have to pay the 50K. Simple's going to come on the show, major MVP, major winner, so that is going to be an absolute banger. That one right there, I don't know how it's going to go, but it should be a lot of fun. So make sure you tune in Monday, 8 p.m. CET, right here, right now. I will quit drinking for Simple to come on the show. Striker and Prof, they'll sort out their identities. You can see them having an identity crisis right now as it is. Boys, you got anything you want to say before we say goodbye?
I think just like thanks for the support. It's been pretty amazing for the past 2 years almost, but especially the last couple of weeks, and being at the event, people coming up saying I watch your show every day, even though we only do it once a week. Pretty nice.
Shout out to the guy who like ran into us as we were just like kicking out an IP from one of the booths because they were in the wrong booth and we were just about to enter it or whatever. A guy just passes us, like goes backwards and just keeps going backwards and says, "You two guys are legends." And then he just like runs into like one of those it just runs into like one of those
like a service cart,
like those service carts, and like almost falls over. That was funny. So shout out to that guy.
Shout out to that guy.
Oh, I even did my first autograph. Somebody found me.
Oh,
Amazing.
And you never
yeah.
even show your face, so
No.
that's cool.
That's
That's
amazing.
great.
Apart from that one blunder where you just like switched to
We
your
don't
camera.
talk about that one.
No, we do talk about that.
No.
it goes down in infamy. It's a HLTV classic. All right. Well, shout out quickly to the sponsors again here. Xtrfy, Bitskins, Parry Match, and new sponsor Displate. If you're looking for anything for your room, check them out. Displate. Did I say it too quickly?
Yes.
That plate?
No,
Displate.
not that plate.
DISPLATE.com.
Like
Check them
Displate.
out. Newest sponsor to the show. Thank you guys. It's been fantastic. We'll see you again next time, Monday. Peace.
Add some fun to your space with Xtrfy, designed in Sweden with focus on quality products built on experience. You're looking at Project 4, their 4th generation of products with super cool colorways to stand out, with matching sets to satisfy with a solid B4 bungee, lightweight ergonomic M4 mouse, the K4 keyboard is fantastic, all of which are performance focused, and finish it off with colorful GP4 mouse mats that are bold in design and smooth on the surface. The retro theme in particular has got the feels. Complete your setup with Xtrfy. No regrets, guaranteed.
Fist bumps go to the teammates.
I wanna see you rolling fast. Win the round. Win the game.
Parry Match, your esports teammate. Stuck ranking up? Lost the motivation to grind? Bored of clicking heads on aim maps? Get some color into your game. Bitskins.com. Buying and selling skins made easy. Tons of payment methods and instant cash outs. Just choose your dream skins, select your preferred payment method, and start grinding again. If you want to play like the pros, you gotta look like the pros.
The nice thing about displays are super high quality and very easy to hang up. All you have to do is mount the magnet they provide you, then just stick the poster on the wall. Every art piece they offer is super collectible and looks great no matter where you place it in your house or room. Another wonderful thing about Displate is they also look after the environment. Every poster someone buys, Displate will plant one tree. They have already planted over 14 million trees and they're still planting. So you're not just getting an awesome poster, you're also helping the environment.